We're up. Let's go. Let's go. All right, let's see. Let's do it. Okay. I'm going to turn on the thing. Alerts. They are now on. Oh, I'm doing fine. Oh, man. No, I worked out with my buddy today. It was great. It was actually great. It was super good. Um, that's it. How much for you to camp a week in Appalachia? A week? I'm not going to consider putting out a number for that, but it would be a lot. It would be a lot. Okay, because there would be a lot that I have to, like, get, you know? So, you know, yeah. Okay, apparently, Hassan talked to Professor Jiang, Chinese anti-Semite, Professor Jiang. Seems like he's been kicked out of several countries, Professor Jiang. Kind of funny guy who people are, like, I think attributing way too much in terms of, like, you know, I don't know, like, way too much credibility to his name because he just kind of guesses some shit. So yeah, we're gonna watch Hassan and Professor Zhang talk. It happened today, and
And
yeah, we're gonna check it out.
our consciousness
Yeah, I know, Rocky.
is able to access the entire universe if we train our consciousness to meditate, to focus. And once we do that, then great truths reveal to us. This is great for people who work in business and in finance, right? Because it allows them to make better business decisions, right?
So wait,
Because
hold on. So let
yes,
me get this clear. So you're saying that there are people in positions of
yes,
power and they find themselves.
Yes, I know all the Professor Zhang stuff, but we'll be able to probably ascertain that from just this call, the insanity of it. That's why I'm just gonna kind of let it reveal itself, you know?
Attracted to this way of thinking because they think hard and they meditate and they unlock the download and the upload that you're getting because this allows them to make better market decisions and make more money.
that's right.
All right, I'm now going to be talking to Professor Jiang, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. Hello, Professor Jiang. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Wow. Okay. What an honor. What an honor to have you here. A
Pleasure.
big time fan. First time listener. Hold on. I'm gonna fix. I'm doing a real time live production right now, so it's gonna take a little bit to
No worries.
size you up, to fix you up on the screen. But I
Okay.
know that you are now also doing live broadcasts because I saw you talk about the trials of trying to communicate to an audience in real time and how difficult it is. So now,
You need about 4 brains to do it properly.
thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
It's the ADHD that I have. For your title, what would you like?
You can just call me Jiang if you want.
Okay, I'm gonna say Professor Jiang, and then I'm gonna
Okay.
say future predictor, predictive history.
Yo, content music night? Well, we got the music done, Thorns. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. All right, immediately ignores Zhang's request. That's fair. Fine. Okay.
Sure.
Okay. All right. Boom, boom, boom. Okay. So, Professor Jiang, you have been on the broadcast of numerous academics and also Sneeko, who is not
Sure,
necessarily an
Sneeko, yeah.
academic, but
Right, right.
but you've had conversations with the likes of Dugan and many others. Very excited to have you here. You did an interview with Breaking Points. A longtime fan of your work. Let's get right into it. What's the next prediction? What's coming up?
My next prediction, my big prediction,
I think you have one more song to play in our Professor Zhang. No, I don't think we do.
is that I think Trump will get
Shockingly enough.
Okay, that's a little
Yeah.
wild. All right. What makes you say that?
Well, first of all, he and his family have been stealing billions of dollars. That's a lot of corruption, and it's really unprecedented. So if he were to leave the office in 2028, you would imagine the first thing that any new administration would do is conduct an investigation because it'd be very popular among the American people. I also live in China, so I know how these things work. Basically, when someone gets in office and he's behaving like a tyrant, it usually means he's a tyrant. And it usually means he has no intention of ever leaving office. So I think that given his behavior, I think Trump is intent on a third term. So then the question then is, would he get a third term? And when Zelensky visited the White House, there was a White House gaggle, and basically, the reporter asked Zelensky, "Hey, why haven't you had an election for the past 4 years, and you should be out of office?" And Zelensky is like, "Well, we're at war, so we."
This is just like this is just word salad, right? Like, this is the one thing that will always make Professor Zhang content like uniquely horrible, is how word salad it gets, because he just kind of rambles and uses as many buzzwords as possible to convince you that he knows what he's talking about, when in fact he doesn't really know what he's talking about.
We suspend the Constitution.
No, it isn't, Rezi. It absolutely is. Shut up, dude.
And someone was like, "Wait, you can do that?" And then Zelensky was like, "You like that, don't you?" And yeah, that's what he might do. He could also run as a VP and have his son, Don Jr., at the head of the ticket. And then when he wins, when they win by cheating, they can, his son can abdicate and he can be the president again.
So there's one complication there. It's actually unconstitutional for him to be the vice president. Like right now, Barack Obama couldn't run as a vice president because he's already carried out his 2 terms. Because there's a constitution. There's a constitution.
I mean, yeah, Hasan is just like kind of owning him with facts and logic here, shockingly enough.
Hurdle there, but maybe he can.
It's tragic.
I don't know.
Hate to see
that
it.
Is up to debate, because if you
It's
talk to
not.
a law professor, he or she will tell you that it's unconstitutional. It violates the spirit of the Constitution. But the problem with the Constitution is it doesn't state explicitly that you can't do that, because what the Constitution says is that no vice president shall be elected, but the vice president is not elected. He's part of the ticket. So it's ultimately up to the Supreme Court to decide what this Constitution says, right? So I would debate that they will take this to the Supreme Court.
Well, yeah, I mean, the vice president has the same qualifications as the president. Like, vice president also has to be like over the age of 35, for example. Like, you can't have like a 30-year-old VP on the ticket.
That is the spirit of the Constitution.
But then again, who knows?
That's the spirit of the Constitution. I agree with you. And all law professors will tell the same thing. But again, it's not in the letter. It's not explicit. And so they can take the Supreme Court. And ultimately, 3 of the 9 justices were appointed by Trump. He'll probably get another one by the end of this year, possibly next year. So there'll be 4 appointed by Trump when this case goes to the Supreme Court. But it'd be great for us because it'll be Barack Obama versus Donald Trump in 2028.
Okay, you said
Whoa, what? That is a lot. That's a lot. There is a lot to unpack from that. And I legitimately do not know where to start. Because he just kind of started like going off about some shit. And then he just didn't really stop going off. Yeah, I don't think Barack Obama's going to get to run in 2028. The worst fear line ultimately will always be like, hey, Trump runs again, and then what do you do? At that point, like, yeah, you kind of have to accept that there are literally no rules in modern, like, American democracy. System's kind of over, everybody out of the pool type energy. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of it. It's just kind of that. So, yeah.
So you're in the tank for the Democrats. Is that what it is? Am I getting that right?
No, I know. What I meant, of course I'm being ironic. What I meant is like, just a general spectator.
Oh, okay.
It'll be like the WWE, right? The main event.
Okay.
The greatest clash in American politics. Barack Obama versus Donald Trump. Donald Trump's been waiting for this ever since when did he go to the White House Correspondents' Dinner and Barack Obama made fun of him? I mean, he's been relishing this moment for a long time.
2015, 2014, maybe?
Yeah. No, he's been relishing this moment for a long time.
They're saying 2011 in my chat. Professor Jiang, is it possible to raise your volume on your end? I tried to do it on mine, but it's already maxed out just a little bit from your microphone.
Sorry.
Because you're a little bit quiet.
I'll put my mic closer to my, yeah. All right.
There's no way to crank up the volume on your end through the Zoom, maybe?
Yeah, let me try.
It sounds
This is
fine, is
what.
what chatters are saying now, but it's crazy because, and I'm sure you've already gotten a little taste of this when you were also live. They always complain. You know what I mean? They always complain, and then
Yeah.
they're like, and then they complain nevertheless, even when you.
Dude, he's so real. He's like, he gets me, man. He fucking gets me, man. That's so cool. That's so fucking cool. Trump probably way worse off than even 2020 without some extreme cheating. Yes. Yeah, without some extreme cheating. Yes. Yeah. Way worse off without some extreme cheating. All right, let's not look at the election systems in 2024 and the certain counties that had certain machines and certain other counties that had certain other machines, but I'm a schizophrenic, so, serious cheating.
Fix it.
Yes. Okay. So, is this better now?
It's a little bit better.
The thing that's like so weird about Professor Zhang as like a character, right? Because I don't take him particularly seriously other than like just, for the grift that he does, right? Other than for the grift that he does, I just don't find a lot of value in taking this guy like ultra seriously. I think he's like very funny because I do think he has psyoped like a ton of people, like a ton of very, very misinformed individuals, and like misinformed in such a sense that it's like they kind of deserve what they get type of misinformation, right? That's Professor Zhang in a nutshell to me. But God, is he a weird entertainer. Are you saying 2020 was stolen? I'm saying more like 2024, yeah.
I'll just lower my own volume to adjust it to yours so that people can.
That's kind of what I'm like hinting at there. I just think that there's more of a discrepancy there than there was with the 2020 shit, but nobody says a thing. Nobody says a thing whatsoever. We already know like the manipulation that happened in the 2016 election, right? The 2016 manipulation was literally found out through the Cambridge Analytica case that did just determine, yeah, guess what? Facebook got fucking psyoped. All right? They got fucking psyoped. They got fucked. All right? That's it. 2024 was weird. Yeah.
People can lower their volume or increase their volume. I think we should be good this way. All right. So getting back to it. So you're famous for your predictions. You use game theory. A lot of people have called you out on it. I don't fully understand how game theory factors into your predictions.
Sure.
Do you mind elaborating on how game theory factors into your predictions on geopolitical events?
Right. So my big thing is that the world is a game, and we can treat nation states as players in this game, and each nation state has a distinct personality, determined by its geography and by its history, and this distinct personality determines how it interacts with the world. So, for example, the United States is particularly aggressive. China is not aggressive, and
Yeah, but the question is the United States historically that way, or is that like a recent advent? No, there's nothing in, fucking Professor Zhang shit other than just like kind of making snap decisions and trying to convince people that his snap decisions are good, because he just kind of gets lucky and says like really basic shit 90% of the time. And then he goes the fuck off. And that shit's so fucking cool. When he goes off, it's so cool,
ultimately,
man.
each player is going to engage.
And this isn't even like necessarily game theory, because like the game theory that you'll be doing is like this like an analysis of what is it that would be most beneficial for someone to play with other people in this, so-called game that you would call like Geopol, right? At least if you're doing it like in like a really basic kind of trying to be good faithy way, which again, not a good idea. That's like the first place that I'm going wrong here, is that no, you probably don't need to treat somebody like Professor Zhang in a good faith fashion, but nonetheless,
in its optimal strategy, right? So rather than like look at what people say, look at what people do.
I really don't like Professor Zhang. I think Professor Zhang is just I think he's a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's not even a wolf in sheep's clothing. He's just a wolf in wolf's clothing. He tells you he's going to argue, and then he does it anyways. And also, he's like one of those, like, really weirdly against, like, occult shit. And that concerns me. It has, like, a certain similarity to certain things.
About, like, if this game were to continue, what is the optimal strategy? And then the player would adopt this optimal strategy over time, right? So if you were to go back, 2 years ago, and you were to survey American politicians and Donald Trump, would you go invade Iran? They'd be like, of course not. That's insane. Why would we do that? But
no, that's not even true. A lot of people, kind of correctly pointed out, in fact, that, yeah, that was probably going to be one of Donald Trump's goals. You probably knew this because, yeah, he has been extremely pro-Israel for an extreme amount of time. He's like the one that, but he moved the capital or the embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right? Like, he's like on that end times, like, weirdo shit, okay? And, like, end times weirdos are fucking weird. That just is, like, the need to, like, be understood. Fuck end times weirdos. Cannot stand them. They're the literal worst misinterpreters. They are the liar cows of the world.
Iran, because it is, at this point in American history, the optimal strategy in order to maintain American hegemony around the world. So that's a brief introduction to game theory.
Okay, so part of that equation.
He's a wacko, but he's right about Trump getting a third term. Less than convinced. I mean, again, I feel that, I don't know. I don't see that happening. I can see them trying. I don't think the GOP has consolidated power fast enough. I don't think that they've been able to consolidate power fast enough. I don't think Donald Trump's going to get that third term. I do think there is somebody in his administration that will somehow rise to the occasion at some point and do the program that they wish to do, right? I do think that does eventually happen. I think we are on a doomed timeline in that sense, but yeah. I don't know. I don't think he's gonna make it through his second term. I don't think he's gonna get to a third term.
In your assessment, because you correctly predicted that Trump's gonna win the election. There were some incorrect predictions in there. I believe you said Nikki Haley could potentially be Trump's vice president, but then you also landed on JD Vance as well. There was one thing that stuck with me though, where you said that America was going to go up the escalation ladder with Iran. America was going to lose the war to Iran, but in the process of doing so, that there would be troop movements that from the rest of the region would join in on this battle and militarily invade Iran. Boots on the ground military warfare. Part of that, you said Saudi Arabia would amass 200,000 plus troops. Where, if you don't mind me asking, where did you get that number? Because I remember looking up the number of troops that the Saudi government has, and as far as like combat troops, it was nowhere near 200,000. Which, of course, I don't even think Saudis.
This is really cool to just like Hasan just being like, yeah, man, so I think you lied about this thing, and I think you lied about this thing, and that thing, and this thing, and he's just kind of moving along. I'm glad when Professor Jiang is beleaguered. Just to be clear, I have a bias. I am happy to see him beleaguered. I think that he is a terrible person for a lot of fucking reasons. Notwithstanding his kind of odd beliefs about the spiritual realm, I guess.
Would ever allow Saudi nationals to go and wage war, as they were thoroughly defeated militarily in Yemen by the much smaller, much more ascetic band of troops backed by Iran, the Ansar Allah movement, the Houthis.
Okay, so to be perfectly honest with you, I didn't do thorough research when I come up with these numbers. When I give lectures, I'm trying to create a narrative that sort of captures the essence of what's happening. And so my large argument is that America will go in a coalition, and this coalition will make up the bulk of its invasion force. And we're already seeing this transpire where there's a crackdown in Iraq. And so what a lot of people believe is that the prime minister is trying to crack down on the Shia militias in order to pave the ground for a invasion from Iraq, right? And if that were the case, then you can see Iraqi militiamen joining in. You can see the Kurds joining in as well. So my larger point is that it'd be a broad coalition with the Americans providing aerial support and special forces and intelligence and command and control.
Funny thing, there apparently there was like I saw an article like right before I started streaming. I was like gonna look at it tomorrow more. There's like an article. The headline was some talk about changing U.S. troop assignments in Saudi Arabia, right? There was some talk about that shit, and I have not looked at it yet. But I think something like that, if it were to transpire, definitely throws a wrench in Jiang's whatever. Honestly, if his worldview was just as simple as, yeah, Trump is going to probably go ahead and end up siding with like Russian kleptocracy and similar, ideology to that, I don't think anybody would ever bat an eye at all. I think you would just kind of be like, yeah, that makes total fucking sense, right? That would make utter, absolute sense. All right, it would not be new. It would not be special. It would just be like, oh yeah, kind of we should have expected that. I mean, that's kind of what we've gotten, is like just rank kleptocracy. So it's just,
but the bulk
does Hasan's description say cussy expert? No.
force would be multinational, and you can also see some Japanese and Korean forces in there as well.
Wow, you think Japanese and Korean forces would also participate in a ground invasion of Iran?
Well, it's in the benefit of America to make it as international as possible. And ultimately, the Strait of Hormuz were to continue to be closed, and South Korea and Japanese economies were tanked, right? So they have a vested interest in sending forces. They may not send a lot, but again, I think Trump would be very interested in having this as broad a coalition as possible, just for domestic political purposes.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the Japanese self-defense forces, especially considering that that's like definitely a bridge too far for many, even in Japanese society. As far as I understand Japanese politics, that's I mean, they don't really have a real military. I mean, it's unconstitutional for them to even have a military technically.
They have the best blue water navy in East Asia. I can see them sending ships to the Strait of Hormuz to.
Yeah, I just don't. Yeah, no. I feel like Japan is pretty isolationist at this point when it comes to their military. I don't think they're gonna just be like, yeah, let's go fighting around the world. I think there's like a lot of good reasons for them to be like, yeah, so we're just never gonna do war again and everybody's gonna chill. Cool. That's like the good end for them. That is certainly the good end for them.
To support the attack. And also right now Japan is rewriting the constitution, and they are remilitarizing because they recognize that as the United States retreats from East Asia, then they need to basically be able to defend themselves against Chinese aggression.
Yeah. So let's talk about that a little bit, if you don't mind me asking. So you live in Beijing, but you're on the English side of the internet. So, and I've been to Beijing. I don't know if you're aware. I've been to China. It was quite a controversial trip, as a matter of fact, because I don't have, unlike many Americans, I don't have an immediate hostility towards China. I think it's just another country existing in the world. And as you also correctly pointed out, they don't have a lot of inherent hostility towards other countries in general. They just have, they exercise their self-interest, and their self-interest revolves around maintaining stability around the world. And even simply saying that out loud and correctly pointing to that is seen as an unforgivable sin here in the United States of America. But I want to hear about your perspective on China a little bit, given as you're someone who went to college here in the United States of America, I believe, right? You went to Yale?
Yeah, I was at Yale. Yes,
yeah, you went to Yale. Yes. You had an English degree from Yale, and then you also you worked as a journalist in China for a little bit, and then there was a little bit of controversy. I think you were working. I mean, this is just off your Wikipedia page. You can elaborate. There was you were working with an American outlet, I think, or an international or Western outlet.
Yeah, PBS.
Oh, you were working with PBS. Okay, cool. And then and what was that about?
Yeah, so I was working as a freelance journalist for the first couple of years. I was in China, and I was working for the Chronicle of Education. Asia Week, some American publications. And then PBS came into town, and this was a time when China was applying to join the WTO, the World Trade Organization. And there were a lot of worker protests around the country due to the restructuring of the state-owned enterprise system, right? A lot of people were losing their pensions, a lot of people were losing their livelihoods. And so they sent me to the northeast of China, a place called Daqing, to film a worker protest. And the moment I arrived, I was arrested because there were a lot. There, as you know, in China, there's a huge police presence everywhere. Like lots of plainclothesmen, a
Okay.
lot of spies. So I was arrested the moment I was there, and I was put in a hotel for 48 hours. And I was interrogated, and I was forced to sign a confession saying that I was working illegally in China as a journalist, which I was. I was working in China illegally as a journalist. I had a crime here. And so,
Sorry.
why is that funny?
I just like that you're so honest about it. Or you're like,
Yeah, no.
you're like,
It's illegal to work in China as a journalist. And then I was deported, but I was not charged with a crime. There's a difference, right? So
uh-huh.
I was deported, and I was allowed back in the country anytime I wanted. But they wanted to deport me in order because I mean, like you can imagine when a journalist gets arrested in China, like when you guys stop at Tiananmen Square, that's big international news, right?
Yeah.
So
I
they
mean, even when I got detained for like 3 seconds at Tiananmen
that's
Square, that
exactly
was all over Western newspapers. They're like, oh, the communists have arrested him. I mean, it wasn't, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, they said you can come back anytime, but we have to deport you because you're getting too much attention. And so, after a year,
I I just feel like everything he says is like absolute bullshit. That makes no sense that they would just deport him and be like, well, you can just come back whenever you want, but like, we gotta deport you right now, bud. Sorry, them's the rules, those are the breaks. Like, this is such a this is a bullshit story. Everything about Professor Zhang requires too much suspension of disbelief to like really take it seriously, man.
I was trying to write a book,
Very
didn't really work
rough.
out, and I was trying multiple
Very rough.
possibilities, but then I ended up going back to China to do documentary filmmaking, and then I worked in the United Nations of Afghanistan, and then after that, I started to work in education reform in China. I built a couple of schools in China that were pretty successful, and then I got fired because I'm a tyrant. I have a certain way of doing things. I have a certain way of educating students, and it didn't really align with Chinese culture and Chinese tradition. I want to teach critical thinking. I want to teach the Socratic method, and they just wanted kids to get into Yale and Harvard. And I was doing that, but they didn't want the education reform, and so I was fired from my position. I wandered around China for the next 10 years before I met my wife, and that's what really changed my life. After I met my wife, we had 3 kids, and
He just wandered China for 10 years. Like, I understand, like, this is just his, like, origin story thing, but, like, this is so. Dude, it's sad that people believe in this guy. Like, wholeheartedly believe the shit this dude peddles. Like, I feel very depressed about the state of the world. Don't you wander the country? No.
so I needed stability in my life, and so I started to go work at a private school, and that's when I started to film my lectures. So I was teaching both geopolitics, game theory, as well as great books, Homer, Dante, Plato, and that's what made me popular online.
I've seen the videos. So the videos that you have on the internet, you actually have students in the room with you. Like that's a lecture
Yeah,
from high school.
one,
I assume
but
is it high school?
it's a high school, and I have like one student in the class. Yes,
You have
as
one
many,
student.
sometimes two.
Okay.
Sometimes if I make it lucky, I get two, but yeah, usually one student in the classroom. Yes.
And what's the like I've looked into the website a little bit and I feel like it's one of those schools where it's like the goal is to try to get these kids to like American college, right? Is that what it is?
Yeah, yeah. So we are a private school. I've left the school, by the way.
Oh, you
But
have. Okay.
uh, I have left the school to pursue other possibilities. It's a private school. It's trying to get Chinese kids into American schools, American colleges. But as you can appreciate, a lot of these kids are there because they failed out of the Chinese public school
Yeah.
system. The Chinese public school system is very, very rigorous. It's intense, and a lot of kids, I would say the vast majority of kids, flunk out because they develop a lot of depression, they develop psychological issues, and these parents are rich enough to send their kids to America. So I deal with like rich dumb kids.
Yeah. That's what a lot of Americans don't realize this, but yes, the children of rich kids in other countries with like a public education system oftentimes will send as a secondary option their children to private school in America because it's much harder to get into the best schools, the top schools in China. Same thing with Turkey as well. I'm a
Sure.
dumb.
Well, yeah, because like it's all like performance based, right? It's literally all performance based with most countries. So that's why, like, yeah, they do. I feel like a lot of other countries spend way more on education, and like, I think ultimately get significantly better results. But you know, yeah, it is like entirely merit based. So like a ton of people just no, they just never go to college because you just don't get the opportunity to because yeah, you did slightly bad on like some shit, you know, one place.
Rich kid who had to go to private school in high school because I couldn't get into any of the good schools because I didn't fail, but it's just like I wasn't competitive enough in 8th grade in my test results.
Yeah, and the grind starts at like age 2 or 1. You know, it's crazy what the parents will do to make sure their kid succeeds on the national entrance examination. I mean, like these kids are doing cram school at age 3 or 4. They're learning math, they're learning vocabulary, they're doing a lot of sports, they're swimming. You know, I have 3 kids, and it's impossible for us to raise a family because our kids can't find any friends. Everyone's too busy studying, and you know, we are very progressive with our kids. We want them to be happy. And so all other parents look at us and think we're like, you know, just serial killers, you know, like cannibals. Like how could you do this to your child? Don't you know that at age 6 or 7, your child's future is already determined? Are you happy with your child being, you know, like a drug addict for the rest of his life? We get a lot of stares, and people talk about us behind our backs all the time.
That's wild. But you know, so what's your plan then? Are you planning on bringing them to the West, or are you planning on raising them in Beijing?
Yeah, so my long-term plan is to start foundation schools around the world and I want to promote a new model of education. And there'll be 3 major pillars to this new model of education, and they are great books. I think that in the digital age, it's now the most important thing to read books, especially the great books, right? Homer, Dante, Plato, Shakespeare. The second pillar is game theory, like teaching you how to understand geopolitics, how to understand current events, and understand the social forces that determine these events. And the third is their cult, religion, right? So I'm interested in teaching the Kabbalah. I'm interested in teaching Sufism.
Wait, what? Sufism? Bro, fuck my fat Chungus life, dude. Oh my fucking god. Holy fuck. Okay. Don't. Dude, I don't want to do wizard battle. I don't want to do wizard battles. No. This is so lame. This is literally like. This is my time. Give a shot. Oh, dude, do I have to watch Professor Zhang ramble about fucking wizard shit now from time to time? That sucks. That's like really suboptimal. Like really, really, really suboptimal, man. You know, like I don't know, man. It's fucking shit. Okay, that's fucking shit. That's what that fucking is. That's shit. Okay. Okay, this is atrocious. This is disgusting. New levels of, like, barbarism are unlocking themselves within me. I hate Professor Jang,
Vedic philosophy, Taoist philosophy,
just
because
random
I
shit.
feel that, you know, if you really want to understand the world, you need to understand religion, because the reality is that most people are religious and people take their religion seriously. And I think that it's very hard to understand what's happening in the Middle East unless you look at it from an eschatological lens. Unless you appreciate that there are crazies in the American government, be like Peter Hegseth, who believe they're actually crusaders, that they are going to go and bring in the second coming of Jesus.
Yeah, but you don't need Kabbalah and shit like that. You just need, like, a rudimentary understanding that Jesus is Christmas to them. Right? It's like it's real rudiment. You don't have to think that deep. It's not very difficult to understand. Jesus is just the embodiment of Christmas for these people.
A lot of these Zionists are driven by end times eschatology as well. They really believe that they are going to build a third temple, and this is going to bring back sorry, not bring back, but like usher in the coming of the Messiah, and then God will bring heaven to earth. They all believe this, and unless you really appreciate this, it's very hard to understand how the world works.
I mean, I believe in dialectical materialism. So my my understanding of the world revolves around, in some ways, it's not dissimilar to game theory, self-interest on the basis of class, and how society is organized around the means of production, and everything is downstream from that. But I do think that there are some, spiritual and ideological ways of thinking that might lead people astray. But I think ultimately it's still, it's still the self-interest of the capital owning class. But it seems like you were not a believer in Marxist theory or Marxist thought at all.
Well, I'm sympathetic. If you actually research Kabbalah, you would appreciate that dialectic materialism comes from the Kabbalah, right? So if you look
Okay, let's let him cook. Let's let him cook. Let's let him cook. Okay.
at Marx and his genealogy, both his maternal and paternal sides of the family, they come from several generations of rabbis. The guy's an aristocrat. Like just go and look at his Wikipedia page. He comes from like
he is Jewish, but he's also very critical of religion in general. And I do feel like the philosophical basis comes from Hegel and not Kabbalah. But maybe I misunderstood
Right.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Professor Jiang kind of fucking wildin' right now. Not gonna lie. Seems like he's going a little, okay. No, I don't think dialectical materialism comes from Kabbalah. I've never considered this at
right.
all.
So
He's saying Kabbalah Jewish equals communism. Yeah, he's gonna do like Bolshevik shit. He's going to be using, honestly, like real, like ultra classic racism. Like we're talking like that, like somebody saying something about a moon in somebody type shit. Okay, that's the sort of like that is the level that Professor Jiang is at. He is like probably would call somebody a moon something or another. Probably would. I would say. I think that's like not an unreasonable thought that he would just like go all out. Like headstrong to take you on or shit.
I mean, my first point is that you're still influenced by your environment, right? I mean, if your parents, your grandparents are talking about Kabbalah every single day, you could reject that, but it's still going to influence how you perceive the world. That's point one. And then point two is that the Kabbalah infiltrated the larger milieu, the zeitgeist of the times. And so I think it's very hard to understand that materialism and communism without thinking about the Kabbalah. That's my experience. It's something we can go deeper into. I can show you a lot of similarities between dialectic materialism and
even like within this, I don't think I agree. I feel like your best bet would be like comparing like hermetic states of like, existence as like just like kind of like losing your materialistic desire and like by doing that you get something, but that's not even like Marx. That's more Deleuze than anything else, right? And that is like kind of just like the expansion pack of like communism is like Remy Deleuze. That's the way I look at it personally. I look at it as like an expansion pack bonus. But yeah, like in general, no, I don't think there are meaningfully consistent things to say Kabbalah influenced Marx.
in Kabbalah. So
I would
mean,
love to hear more about that, actually, because I feel like it's what you're describing is like almost foundationally, diametrically opposed to my understanding of materialist thought, especially when paired with the concept of dialectics, which is to disavow the spiritual. Which Hegel's dialectics, yes, was more so about the spirit of certain things, whereas like materialism is all about the real world, simply put.
Right. Okay. So have you looked at the Tree of Life? The Tree of Life.
No. What is the Tree of Life?
Okay.
I mean, I think I know what that
The
is. But I don't know.
Sephiroth.
Right. Okay. So the Tree of Life is what Kabbalists believe to be the fundamental underlying logic of the universe. Basically,
Kabbalists. He's not even saying our fucking weird name right, all right? It's called Kabbalists. Kabbalists believe in, like, the Tree of Life, and even that isn't, like, to be honest, I don't really think that's a great framing for this, but let's let them go
how
for a little
God
bit.
thinks, basically how the universe moves, right? So in their understanding, the universe is energy. And this energy has a certain vibration that it moves. And what the Tree of Life shows you is how this universe moves. And you actually said the Tree of Life, what it is fundamentally is thesis, antithesis, synthesis. Okay? So the idea is like everything produces a polarity, and then this polarity in itself combines to create a new force, which then
No, you're getting it backwards. It's that there's the Ein Sof, the Ein Sofa, and the Ein, and the Ein, okay, that go ahead and have emanations that emanate from below into the world to go ahead and put themselves down to Malkuth, and that the operant ways to go ahead and move upward or closer to celestial intelligence would ultimately be oh my fucking god. Alright, would ultimately be through a rising process that would be not transmissible by humans. Like, you wouldn't be able to do it because you're human. Alright, because you're not celestial force, okay? He's full of shit, man. It doesn't work like that. It's literally the other way around.
creates a new polarity. And that's dialectic materialism, right?
Now, it's like the issue isn't like left hand or right hand shit. Like, it's Kabbalah. So it's obviously going to be right hand. It's high magic. It's ritual magic. It's not wild magic. It's not sorcery. You know, it's high magic. Okay. But yeah, there's going to be people in the future practicing Professor Jiang thought. Oh yeah. Yeah, their systems will be shit, and we will most likely make fun of them as they turn to absolute shit, and they do literally nothing for anybody at all. Not even like a fun little, like, handy or some shit, you know? Yeah. Their systems will fall.
Right? Marx's great innovation is to say, okay, I'm going to take this idea and apply it to
It's
economics.
dialectics, yeah, but I wouldn't say it's materialism. But
Right.
Okay, go on. I shouldn't have stopped you. You're
Right,
lecturing.
Right. No, but I'm saying that's what the Tree of Life teaches you. Like the fundamental force of the universe is the thesis, antithesis, synthesis dynamic.
Not really. It's just like this. Like, the main part is like just positionals and understanding, like, planets and astrology as a way to connect that to tarot itself, because it's like between the Sephiroth and then the cube of space, because you have the 22 paths of the fucking Tree of Life, which then correspond to the 22 points of, like, the major arcana and tarot. Left hand is like the left hand branch of the Tree of Life in that system. No, the left hand, it's the pillar of severity and the pillar of, it's just downward movement and upward movement. I don't know how else to put it, right? Like, that's it. It's like you start from like Bina. Like, Bina goes downward, Chakma goes upward, or it gets come up to it, right? High Priestess goes through they ought to begin with. So, like, High Priestess should not be in consideration. Like, the High Priestess path is literally just like the Tiferet, like, secret path. I don't know how
Right? And you can also...
But Bina is severity. It's downward. That's it. No, High Priestess is not severity. High Priestess is through Deat. These are different things.
say this as the generative force, productive force, and then creation.
Fucking neophytes, man.
And what Marx's great innovation is to recognize that
the black and white pillars they represent Boaz and Jekyll. Boaz and Jekyll are not representative to that. It's like it's a separate representation to begin with. So no, it's Boaz and Jekyll. All right, so no, you're not. You're doing it wrong. Okay, like, yeah, it's Boaz and Jekyll.
Okay,
Like, you could make that, but like it's like so. I don't like the idea of Bose and Jekyll being like part of like the pillars for that. Mostly because again, like you're missing your center pillarings, and that's just not. It's kind of meh.
Priority then is economics. Okay, and that's how I came up
Fun fact: Kabbalah is both Hebrew and Arabic for receive or accept. Oh,
with that, like materialism. And before, people appreciate it as maybe thought or religion.
well,
And Marx says, no, we can simplify it by prioritizing class differences.
Okay. Okay. I still don't fully understand how that is similar, but you know, maybe I just don't have the brain power to comprehend it. But okay, so what's your spiritual analysis then? Because you said everybody believes something, right? Like everybody has like
Yeah.
some kind of spiritual understanding of the world, some kind of religious worldview. What would you say yours is?
Right. So, you know, 4 years ago, I was a very happy atheist. I was like you. I was probably more sympathetic to Marx than anyone else. I really believe in dialectic materialism.
Wait, that was 4 years ago? You said?
Yeah, 4 years ago. 4 years
Okay.
ago. And then these past 4 years, as I'm teaching history, as I'm teaching the great books, as I'm seeing how things unfold in the world, I have this crisis of faith. And so when I'm looking at what's happening in Iran, I can't explain it simply using game theory.
oh
I can't explain it just using, the geopolitics. I think there's something much larger going on.
no, it's just like a fucking idiot doing idiot things because he got hoodwinked by a nation that realizes how easy it is to hoodwink a bunch of fucking rubes from America. You know, that's it. That's literally all it is. It's not that deep. It's really not that fucking deep. Like, America is for sale. It's kind of ruined. It's kind of fucked.
I still don't know why Donald Trump attacked Iran. Like you
Israel. It's just, what?
know why? Because he's never really articulated a good reason why he decided to go and attack Iran.
Why do I think
So
he attacked Iran?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
I
yeah.
think that the axis of resistance was at its weakest point in the aftermath of 3 years of genocide, and that Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli government was able to make a convincing case to finally strike at Iran, something that like numerous American administrations have said no to. And then he believed foolishly that a regime decapitation would actually create ample ground for regime change, with the Kurdish militias on the ground, foment sectarian conflict, things of that nature. Of course, it didn't happen. I think Benjamin Netanyahu probably utilized the Venezuela victory as well to his advantage. And outside of that, I think ultimately he wanted to disrupt the global world, the global energy supply coming out of the Gulf, because the Gulf is already far too close to China, America's only, I think, at this point, geopolitical enemy. And they wanted to, I mean, Trump has been doing this already. He wanted to decouple the rest of the world from China. It failed, obviously, with his tariffs, with his Liberation Day tariffs proposals. And then outside of that, I think he wanted to maintain the world's largest known natural oil supplies in Venezuela, which he did. And then he turned around. He turned around and thought he could then either disrupt the Gulf's energy development and increase the rest of the world's over reliance on American refined oil, or rather destabilize Iran and then control Iran so that he would no longer have to worry about the rest of the Gulf potentially aligning with China in any meaningful capacity.
I'm gonna go with was pushed into it by Benjamin Netanyahu, and he's too stupid to know the difference. Thank you, Hasan. That was a lot. That was a lot, and I do not know how to process it. But it sounds really good. I'm sure there's like some issues within that, that could be borne out. But hey, awesome. Yeah, hell yeah, man, definitely. Yep. Yeah. Very cool. Very, very, very cool. Well thought out. Okay.
Which could have created a leverage point for China and would have probably hardened China's position. They're already very clearly aligned with Russia. That's one major energy provider for them, and they still obviously need oil and gas, whereas they are already in control of the next. They have monopoly control over the next wave of the world's energy supply, the green energy, renewable energy.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And if like Barack Obama were president, I would agree with your analysis. We're talking about Donald Trump, right? So the thing about Donald Trump is, in his first term, they tried really hard to debrief him. Like, there's the presidential daily briefing, and they recognized this guy doesn't actually read. So at first they tried a
I feel like Professor Jiang retained literally nothing of what Hasan said at all. And I'm gonna be honest, like, I get it, like, I do, but I do have to say, I think it's really cool that he's like, yeah, okay, and then just like kind of immediately moves on. I kind of like that. I think that's good energy for this. I hope he keeps it up. Because I think it's a great look to just not have anything to fucking say after that, other than just completely, delineating that, yeah, you asked if there was like a better reason, and it's just like, oh yeah, well, it's Trump though. Trump dumb, right? Duh. Obviously, so that this just makes sense. Why would we pretend like it's not just him being dumb? Like,
paragraph. Like, instead of one page, let's give him a paragraph. And it was impossible to focus his attention. He just did not care. So then they're like, okay, like we'll do bullet points, okay? Didn't work either. They're like, okay, we'll draw pictures. And like, didn't work either, okay? Even if you drew pictures for him, he could not keep focus. He could not absorb what you were telling him about geopolitics. And then they recognized the only way to get his attention was to appear on Fox News and tell him the message there. Okay, so this is a guy who has problems paying attention, who has problems being consistent, who has problems putting together coherent thought. So I think he's very emotional. I think he's very instinctual. He believes his own intuition. So I have a hard time believing that he actually thought it out.
I don't think he did. I think that there are people around him that some he trusts clearly that are manipulating him. They're goading him into taking certain actions. But it's like Joe Biden. Joe Biden was far too old to be making any kind of decisions. It was most likely the team around him that were making these decisions and moving him along. George W. Bush famously wasn't very well put together, but they were just simply signing off on a lot of these things. But I think the people around him were most likely convinced that this.
Yeah, I mean, like, ultimately, it just kind of makes more sense once you start looking at like Marco Rubio and like his, in my opinion, ultimate plans to retake Cuba for his ancestors. That's my theory on Marco Rubio. I think it's pretty solid. I think makes a lot of sense that Marco Rubio is he's just going for it because, yeah, his grandma just said, yeah, once we owned all these people.
This was a decent plan of action, which it of course it wasn't. And they had to push back the Chinese summit once. And then when Donald Trump inevitably appeared alongside Xi Jinping in the China summit, because he had to, it was clear that he did not have any leverage. As a matter of fact, he was bargaining from a position of weakness when he went there. And that's part of the reason why he went back on $14 billion arms transfer to Taiwan, which went against like previous American foreign policy and probably played a major role in normalizing relations across the strait. But again, that's because he lost. But you said there was a spiritual reason that like you saw you saw Trump moving against Iran, and that caused your spiritual awakening. So how did that happen?
Right. Okay. So it was a series of events. Okay. But my first great epiphany was when I was teaching Dante, the Divine Comedy. And it was my first time reading Divine Comedy. And it took me a long time to try to appreciate its beauty, its truth. When I did, I recognized that this could not have been written by a human being. It is just so beautiful, so perfect, and it revealed a deeper truth. And my only conclusion is this was not written by a human being out of his own free will, out of his own experience. A lot of things I felt he was channeling.
Dante was like a joker. He was like a jester type person. It was a joke. It was a joke to make fun of politicians of the era. What do you mean What?
channeling God. I thought he was channeling the universe and then explaining the truth in poetry. And so the Divine Comedy, what it tells us is that there are two worlds. There's the material world in which we live, and then there's a spiritual world in which our consciousness inhabits. So think of our consciousness as inhabiting infinite dimensions. And our consciousness is able to access the entire universe if we train our consciousness to meditate.
I always thought Dante's Inferno was parodying the idea of hell itself. Well, yeah, but it was parodying it in the sense of, oh, we have all these really shitty politicians, and they're the ones that are going to hell despite claiming virtue and shit. That was the parody of it, you know?
Focus, to be ever present. And once we do that, then great truths revealed to us. And I look deeper into this, and I recognize
It's hard
this
to-
is all what
yeah.
this is what every single great religious and spiritual tradition has taught before.
No, I don't
That
think Professor Jiang has done Sykes or anything like that. I think he read the Kabbalion and, like, I don't know, probably like Robert Wang's analysis of like Hermetic Kabbalah. That would be my guess. I'm guessing he probably read Wang. Most people have read Wang. Right, Robert Wang. This book. Yeah, 1983. Robert Wang. And yeah. Robert Wang and there's Robert Wang and Chick Cicero. I was taught by a Cicero person a lot of like shit, but I think Wang does really well like with like writing within this, and like his graphing is like way better. But yeah, he's probably like going off of like half understandings within this, right? To like try to work through this, right? I didn't even notice the producers changing Hasan's name. Hank Pecker, gun knower.
ultimately we are
Nice.
part of the
I
divine,
didn't
that God
either.
is in us, and that we are in God. And as I continue to study more and more history,
Wait, what?
what every single great religious and spiritual tradition has taught before, that ultimately we are part of the divine, that God is in us, and that we are in God.
God entered into my body like a body my same size, like me floating into you or you floating into me. This is the baptism of the Holy Ghost, Acts 2:38 in the Bible. God.
And as I continue to study more and more history, I recognize that most humans throughout most of human history have believed this, and they've structured societies around us. Our world is unique in that we are completely materialistic, and that we deny.
You gotta do a video taking Jiang down from a cultist angle. You can't. You can't. You literally can't. You wanna know why? Because at that point he's like, well, yeah, but I studied this all myself. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, we're just arguing about, like, occult LARPs and shit like that. And the thing is, he keeps it so general that, you know, there's just nothing really to go on there. There's, like, some specific things that I have issues with. But, like, yeah, the dialectical materialism bit, yeah, I don't think that represents itself well within the Sephiroth to begin with. But
the existence of God, that we deny the existence of the soul, of consciousness. In neuroscience, no one has actually spent any research into the nature of our consciousness, and that's kind of weird because we spend most of our time thinking, right? So, like why haven't we looked into where our thoughts come from, how we structure our thoughts, and how we communicate our ideas? So
see, the thing is, like, you have philosophy on that. Like, for instance, like Remy, like Deleuze and shit, where it's just like, yeah, so this is all part of like this, you know, hungering vessel that is going to have like push-pull needs and wants, and everything. Those thoughts are a resultant of how to overcome those needs and wants. You know?
the Divine Comedy was a great awakening, And then, like, as I studied history, I recognize a great paradox in our history, which is scientists know that our minds, the way that our minds are structured with the frontal lobe, our minds have been this way for the past 200,000 years, 200,000 years. But we only have like 10,000 years of recorded history. So what were we doing before the Ice Age?
Hunting, gathering, hunting, gathering, like, because we were hunting, gathering, and evolving. And then we learned crop tables and shit.
Like we're just like, in caves, freezing to death, or running around chasing monkeys. Like what were we doing for 200,000 years?
Homo sapiens sapiens is like at oldest like 140,000 years or something like that. But yeah, pretty much that's what they saw from like Homo habilis, as well as like very early Homo sapiens sapiens. How does it feel? You could have theory mogged Professor Jiang. Well,
And
how old are cave drawings? There's some cave drawings that are pre-human, right? Pre-Homo sapiens sapiens.
And then you look at a place like Göbekli Tepe, in Turkey. You look at a place like the Amazon forest, the Grand Valley in the United States.
What were we doing? Exterminating every other hominid species on the planet until we were completely alone. Yeah. Yeah, as well as, like, other humans, There was, like, a bottleneck at one point of, like, less than, like, 10,000 individuals of humanity at one point?
So there's so much evidence of previous civilizations in these places before. And so I don't know how much of our history is real. So these past 4 years, I've been on a journey. And also, I've been looking into certain conspiracy theories, such as a moon landing, such as JFK, such as 9/11. And the evidence is kind of overwhelming.
Overwhelming in what direction? It's just fake.
In the government is covering things up, right? I mean, like, just look at 9/11, and you just Google World Trade Center building number 7. You're like, oh, wait a minute here. I thought 2 buildings came down, right? Because there were 2 planes, but 3 buildings came down that day. So how did that happen? Right? And like the moon landing. Oh, okay, we got to the moon, but apparently we lost all the technology. We lost all the data, the telemetry data, and we lost all the footage. So I'm like, oh, how did that happen? Like, you have this huge bureaucratic organization, and they lost all the technology.
So what do you think?
Yeah, then we fell into it. Yeah, debris, amongst a bunch of other shit. That bottleneck is why inbreeding is so disastrous for humans and not as much in other species. Really?
Think is going on. Well, you think they just like faked all of it? Like they set up 9/11 on their own to like go to war in the Middle East?
Yes, hominid interbreeding is there. Like, there is like Neanderthalic histories, there's Devisonian histories. Yep, 100%. Yeah.
To create sufficient cause, is that what it is?
Again, I unless you have a full picture of the cult and its impact on the imagination of people, it's really hard to understand what their motivations are, right? But once you understand their cult, once you look into secret societies, they really believe they have a religious mandate from God to remake the world in a certain way that welcomes God to our world, right? So look at artificial intelligence, and
that's not. No, they're like no, that's like not goals at all. It's not birthing gods and shit. It's just like becoming one with the Godhead,
like this
mostly on an individual basis, even.
Article by Ronan Farrow on Sam Altman, where he interviews some OpenAI researchers, and they say like, oh, we're trying to summon demons with AI. Like, they're being literal about this. They're not joking about this. They're not being metaphorical.
Yeah, but they're talking about like Roku's basilisk, right? You don't
think that's just self-interested to greatly increase the potential impact of AI and how scary it is in an effort to justify all the additional billions of dollars in fundraising? Because there's 2 different schools of thought on this, right? Many people don't believe that AGI is truly possible. And then there are some who are simply trying to feed the bubble to the best of their ability. And part of that is to say that AI is going to take over everything. It's so scary. And that actually causes a lot of people to pay close attention to it and to continue giving money to it, to continue giving money to the likes of Sam Altman specifically, so they can continue, I guess, trying to develop it to the best of their ability. I do have a question for you. So you said you read The Divine Comedy only 4 years ago? That seems a little far-fetched considering that you got an English degree from Yale.
Well, I mean, but the Divine Comedy is in Italian, right? So we read Shakespeare, Milton, Keats, Wordsworth. We're reading English poetry.
So you didn't read Divine Comedy through your English major at Yale?
No, no, no. And Divine Comedy is actually very hard to read. I mean, I read a lot of classics.
The thing is, it generates me extreme pleasure that Hasan is just like very quietly, very studiously and cautiously R-ing the ever-loving shit out of this dude. I kind of love that about this. Like, I kind of really like that. Because, yeah, conspiracy shit really isn't that difficult. Like, most ultra conspiracy people are, you're not going to break the programming. Right? You know, but, like, just playing out these little things and having them just, like, kind of freak out always puts a smile on my face. This is nice.
Yeah, I read, you know.
Why is he dressed like an adjunct now? Trying to be a real person online. Like a real respectable person, because he realizes that, yeah, there's a lot about him that the Democratic Party likes. So, you know, yeah, he's doing his, like, wearing his human suit, right?
Homer and Plato, but we never read the Divine Comedy.
Okay, I mean,
we should have. We should have.
Yeah, the Leviathan theme is like Roku's Basilisk. I'm assuming that, like, when he's saying, "Oh, programmers are talking about coding this thing that'll kill everybody," yeah, it makes sense that it would be Roku's Basilisk. Like that idea of some rogue AI that if it finds out you didn't help it come to consciousness, it's gonna kill you. It's going to kill everybody that didn't help it, all right? So, you know, it's eventually going to get there, you know, because you've thought about it at some point. So, the logic is as soon as you know about it, like, you're all cursed now, okay? You're going to get killed by some robot Clussy. And it's not going to be good. It's going to be bad, all right? Clussy for Clanker, you know. Yeah. It really doesn't make any sense. That's it. They're A-logging you? Oh, that's cool. What? It's like, alright, yeah, man. 241. Okay.
I think I read it in Turkey
Hey, Kathy. How are you?
in like 8th grade, I think, but, you know,
Right.
I didn't fully understand it, but then again, I also didn't think that it was like a divine intervention that like was incepted into Dante's brain.
I spent the past 2 weeks teaching Divine Comedy, and I spent every single day trying to tell people this is God's work. This is not Dante. This is the universe taking possession of Dante in order to spread the divine fire to humanity. I spent the past 2 weeks doing that, and it's on my channel. So
Okay. And you're okay. So you read Divine Comedy,
Nice.
and that just like one-shotted you. It one-shotted
Basically,
your
yes.
mind.
Yeah.
And that somehow ties back to Donald Trump's invasion plans of Iran, and
Yeah.
that put you down this journey. But that happened, you know, that didn't happen 4 years ago, right? That happened
Yeah.
130 days ago is when Donald Trump kickstarted Operation Epic Fury. So the timeline is a little messed up for me. I'm trying to understand. I'm trying to.
Okay. All right. So okay. So here's my theory, and again, I could be completely wrong. Okay, but based on my reading of Divine Comedy, this is what I think happened. Okay, there are many Jewish occultists, okay, Kabbalists, okay, who are intent on ushering the end times because they want
Okay. All right.
God
Okay.
to come to earth and to reunite with the Jewish people. Okay. And so one group that is very prominent, very powerful are the Chabad Lubavitch movement, and then Rebbe Sneerson was leader of that movement for many decades. You know, he's obviously passed away. But the thing about Chabad Lubavitch is like they are the largest property owners in Brooklyn. Okay, so they bought property way back before World War II, and now they're basically the biggest real estate developer in Brooklyn. And a lot of people that are in real estate are maybe front people for the Chabad Lubavitch movement, including like the Kushner family, right?
Including the Kushner family. Okay. This is it. All right.
And Donald Trump
Okay.
obviously have had dealings with Chabad Lubavitch. They're not interested in the mature world. They don't care about that.
I just feel like the much simpler answer is just talking about, you know, American Christians, like American evangelicals, and the way that American evangelicals have been calling for this for years upon years upon years upon years because they think it will give them liberty from the hell that is the world that we live in. But, you know, okay.
What they're interested in is fulfilling their end times prophecy. There are three major pillars to the end times prophecy. The first is the completion of the Greater Israel Project, right? Second is the return of the Jewish diaspora to Jerusalem. They want all Jews to return to Israel, and they're fanatical about it. They're very serious about it. And the third is the building of the third temple, because that is where God will live. Okay, so if you just go into the Chabad Lubavitch movement, they're fanatical about these three objectives.
I just feel like this is just directly aligned with evangelicals in America. Like, I remember hearing this shit, like, as, you know, just repeated over and over again, like, about rebuilding the temple to, like, bring upon apocalypse and shit. I just feel like I think we're just, like, really overcomplicating this and just adding anti-Semitism into the mix for little to no reason, honestly.
And for decades, they were planning this. Now, the thing about these religious Jews is they spend all their time meditating on the Torah.
Wait, Professor Zhang, before we move on, I have to ask you some questions here. So you're saying the Chabad Lubavitch movement predates Zionism as an ideology, and that it was actually a foundational ideology before Zionism, pre-Theodor Herzl, pre-Jabotinsky, and the like. And
okay, but it's not just the Zionism there, because, like, the Zionism that you're talking about is, like, just the kind of more cultural, I don't know how to put it, cultural Zionism, structural Zionism, I don't know, versus, like, again, he's just talking about American evangelicals, but, like, blaming it on Jews, because, yeah.
That they are responsible.
Dispensationalism? I'll have to look that up.
For Zionism
as like a term. I don't know the term. I just have like a general idea of it. So
it's a prominent ideology, as a settler colonial ideology.
Okay. So let's be precise. So after the Protestant Reformation, the idea, there were many different groups, including the Freemasons, including the Sabbatean Frankists, many different groups who are interested in the second coming of Jesus.
Also, again, I don't know, what is it? Sabbatean Frankists? I think that's the word he's using for, whenever he says Frankist, it is him just, again, retreating right back into his, like, very normal anti-Semitism. That is the bulk of Professor Jiang's, like, everything he talks about. It's just another way for him to blame everything on Jews. Okay, like that's all that fucking Professor Jiang does.
Okay,
it's very frustrating.
People like Isaac Newton thought that now that you have direct access to the Bible is the divine plan, because the Bible is literally the Word of God, right? And if you read the Bible in a certain way, right, if you focus on the books of Daniel, the books of Ezekiel, and the book of Revelation, this divine plan is going to reveal itself to you, and this divine plan calls for all three things. Okay. So it's not just the Chabad Lubavitch people, it's also a lot of Freemasons, a lot of different secret societies. They believe that for God to return, you need to meet certain conditions. And again, this is
my issue with the third temple is we technically don't know where it specifically was, but somehow it's been decided that's the Golden Dome Al-Aqsa Mosque, even though the Dome of the Rock is like in a different corner of the area, and this is on purpose done by the Islamic Caliph Omar to respect the Jewish people, whom he restored their population to Jerusalem after 500 years of exile and abused by Christians. LOL, I'm confused. Bro, if you think building a single fucking... Okay. It's like, you know, like in StarCraft, like the Return to Ire shit. Okay, so the Protoss are in StarCraft, roaming tribes, returning to Ire to build a temple to destroy all of their enemies. Okay? Okay, like, this is obviously, you know, what the fuck? Stop. No, this is actually, there is just a mission and that's it. You gotta bring like the Kala crystals and shit. What fucking Protoss mission was Protoss mission Ire. It's not Brood War's Escape from Ire. Was it on Ire? I think it was on Ire. Was it? Is it? It's this one. Yeah. It's this fucking shit, dude. This shit.
I am overjoyed to see you both return home in this dark hour. The Zerg have redoubled their efforts, and it seems...
It can't be. The Executor told me of how you fell before the Zerg. How is it that you live and breathe?
Well, after my unfortunate defeat, my ruined body was recovered by...
Yeah, like Tassadar would be like the Zadokians and shit, right? Like that's what Tassadar... Tassadar is Jesus, okay? Who are the Zerg here? The Zerg would be the efforts of like... Amalek, I think, would be like the term. I mean, if you're looking at like modern Zionism, modern Zionists, I guess is probably a better word. Like, is it Ben Gavir that he talks about Amalek? I know Netanyahu's talked about Amalek, right? But Amalek is like this just kind of nebulous, formless enemy, right? And then like the Zerg, yeah, they're kind of nebulous and formless. They just are like produced out by the Overmind, right? But yeah, so that's like what they're doing. But the thing is though, it's totally cool they're doing it, because fuck the Zerg, man. Literally fuck Zerg. Zerg shit is shit. It's always been shit. Fuck the Zerg. Okay? All my homies hate the Zerg, man.
Old friend, would that this never came to pass.
Nonsense! There is no shame in defeat, so long as the spirit is...
Destiny was a Zerg player? It shows. It does show, man. It really fucking shows, dude.
...conquered, and I am still able to serve Aya to a degree. But enough of this. There is much you both need to know. You have been branded as traitors by Alderus and the Conclave. Even now they...
But yeah, so it's like, okay, no, so this is this is when they come back. Okay, this is when they come back. But then, so then there's the further mission where, okay, what is it? It's mission like 8 or 9, right? Where the whole thing is, you gotta get the Kala crystals, and then you have to defend the temple. What is the Protoss fucking cinematic, right? I think that's it. Right? From like StarCraft 1. I think it's StarCraft 1. It's gotta be StarCraft 1. Original Protoss cinematics. Castar is so cool. Alright, so wait, where is it? Because like there's this one where like the temple and shit gets bigger. Well, no, that's right. Yeah, because Tassadar just fucking flies the Ganthertor into the Overmind that after channeling both like dark and like light Kala energy. Now I feel like I'm misremembering things.
Immediately tell me.
I remember there was something Protoss Temple. Okay. There's like a temple. Was it this? Is it like there? Oh wait, is it eradicating the Zerg on Shakuras? Was that it? Was that what this is the one I'm thinking of, right? Yeah, like, okay, yeah, alright. I'm thinking about Shakuras, not Ire. Yeah, I'm thinking about Shakuras, not Ire. Yeah, that's on me. Fuck yeah, man. That's from Brood War? It is. Yeah, because it's Artanis, right? Artanis is there with Zeratul and shit, I believe. You know, like that's... Right? I think it's Artanis and Zeratul. What the fuck is this? This is okay. So we were talking about the idea that if you build the temple, the apocalypse will come. Idea among like American Christian Zionists. And I was relating that to the Protoss on Shakuras, right? Eradicating the Zerg from around them. However, you know, yeah. Artanis, I think, is hinted to be the player character from Vanilla. Well, no. Whoa. Really? I haven't played StarCraft in fucking ages, man. I only ever played Lurker Defense in fucking the campaign, man. Fuck. It's been a while. It's been a while. I am rusty on my read the fucking books that came with the StarCraft games fucking lore. Yeah. I am fucking rusty on that shit. Anyways. So yeah, that's what Professor Zhang's doing, right?
Fringe
Something like
people,
that.
But unfortunately, this fringe group of people tend to have all the power in the world. Okay, so
I mean, I don't know if that's the case. Like, I mean, I think Zionism is, broadly speaking, a fairly dominant ideology amongst a lot of evangelical Christians, and certainly many American or Western Jews as well. But having said that, I don't know if it's not even that I don't know. I don't believe that this is a foundational ideology that predates the inception of Zionism itself under the likes of Theodor Herzl. There was plenty of discourse around it when it first was being discussed. Many Jews were against it. As a matter of fact, Jews were primarily against it, both for theological justifications, different sects of Judaism that understood it as I don't know what the term would be in Judaism, but heretical, right? As in
absolutely.
that Jews are not supposed to maintain a nation state
Absolutely.
before the return of the Messiah. And then there were plenty of Jews who were just basically secular, even though Theodor Herzl and many of the other founding fathers of Israel were also secular themselves. But there was the Bundist movement that was anti-fascist and therefore opposed any kind of settler colonial enterprise, such as what Zionism would bring about. So I don't know if that's I don't know if that would be a guiding principle. And I also certainly don't believe that the groups that were able to purchase real estate in Brooklyn are the most powerful financial force in American politics, let alone global politics. I mean, it's just Brooklyn real estate.
Right. Okay. So
okay. I'm just gonna be honest. That one just kind of flew right over my head again. Like, okay. It sounds good, but I am less than. I don't know. I feel like just understanding that we're just building up like Christian mythology by like saying shit like this. Like even saying it like in this like conspiratorial tone can like have the effect of making people think, oh yeah, no, that's cool. And then they start looking into it. They start to get into those cycles. They start like schizoing the fuck out. They start freaking out. They're screaming at people around them, thinking that they're like seeing ghosts and shit. And then, you know, like, what happens at the end of that? A fucking, you know, drug overdose, usually. And, like, yeah, that's, like, American Christianity in a nutshell. And it's sad to see.
Again, you're absolutely right. These points you bring up are absolutely correct, okay?
But he doesn't know what he's saying. That's the thing. It's like, he's not going to respond to anything within that. And that's, like, very frustrating. Like, that is, like, the most frustrating part of Jake is that he's just going to he's going to take everything that you just said, but then he's going to try to add on to it, but it's always going to loop back.
Point one is that Zionism in the year 1900, when Theodor Herzl was active, it was a very fringe thing. Only about 1% of all Jews around the world support the idea of, like, let's pack our bags, leave our middle-class life in England and America, and go to a desert in the middle of nowhere. Like 1% of Jews actually believe this, and you're absolutely right in
it's
that.
Before the 1900s, even it's like late 1800s, I think.
Yeah, so I think Theodor Herzl, his book Judenland was published in the year 1899.
Yeah.
So at this point in history, the idea of return to Jewish homeland, Jerusalem, it is not popular. But as you point out, the other issue is that it is heretical, right? Because the very basis of Zionism, Christian Zionism, is that you can actually manipulate history, and that goes against God's will, right? It is God's will that the Jews be dispersed around the world because of their sins, because of their lack of faith in God. And when God has chosen the Jews already, then He will send a Messiah to take them back to the Promised Land. Okay, that's the order of things. And so the priority for Jews is to practice a life of piety, a life of goodness, a life of generosity. And then when God is ready, then the Messiah will come. Okay, that's what most Jews believe.
Okay, quick question for you, actually. I don't know how many Jewish friends you have, but at least maybe in the spaces that I occupy, they don't believe any of that shit. As a matter of fact,
yeah, like there are a lot. All right, it's for what it's worth, like what Hasan is going to refer to is like American Jews who, if I'm going to be honest, are often, in my experience, secular. Secular so much that, yes, in my 30s, I did find out that several of my friends growing up were Jewish. And then I was like, huh, okay. Didn't have any fucking idea. Had no fucking idea whatsoever. That was a shocker. That was definitely a shocker when that happened. But, cool. Whatever. I just think that there are a lot of people that are Jewish heritage that don't even think about it. I think there are a lot of people that are Christians that don't think about it. They don't think about what they're saying. They don't think about what they're doing. They just kind of wing it and find ways to fit the religion into their desire for being an honest broker, a person whose actions are ultimately good, right? It's just kind of whack-a-mole for, like, belief. And really, at the end of the day, it's just something to buffer up your worst parts and buffer up your best parts and forgive your worst parts. And it's, I don't know, I think it's a modern complication of religion. I think it's, like, kind of sucks. Kind of American religion, like, kind of sucks. And yeah, there are definitely people who are, like, occultists and shit that probably believe in, like, some of the shit that Jiang's talking about. But I would say that they're more aligned with, like, American evangelical Christians than they are with, like, any particular Jewish movement. Yeah.
For the most part, most Jews that I know at least are, they're atheists. They say they're Jewish. They may have, attended a couple dinners every now and then, but for the most part,
and at the end of the day, this is actually like kind of like this is like the anti-Semitism of it, right? Where what you're left with is kind of just casting, again, if you take Jiang's like description, that they should not have a land and whatever, it's like he's trying to create a similar situation to like Travelers. Jackie, thank you for the 199. Oh my god. Thank you. It's like the same situation that you have with Travelers. Right? Where you have this like justification system, for people to exist like this. It's also something that draws like negative ideas about them. They end up becoming, completely dispersed from any society that's there, often experiencing, violence due to those societies. Sure. That's like part of the system that is built around like Travelers. And like there is a desire, I believe, in like an anti-Semite like Jiang, believing all these conspiracy theories about the Jews having this, like, ultimate control over literally everything. Not like the narrow lane of control that certain Zionist groups have over the American government that are not just Jewish Zionists, largely Christian Zionists that want to see the wholesale eradication of the Jewish race in order to bring about the apocalypse. Thought you were Jewish. I practice, like, I speak Hebrew when I, like, do ritual shit, Yeah. So that's, like, what, with Hasan combating it, I don't know. I mean, he's gonna do it his way, and, this is, the problem with Jiang is he's, like, really slippery, and it's always gonna be, like, kinda, it's decent content. It's not great. It's not great. But like he's a super slippery guy, and he just wants to keep adding to everything, right? You know, he's a yes and he tries to like loop you into his conspiracy and find a way that he can like truly connect with you. So really, the only like option you have when you're talking with someone like this is that you have to like kind of constantly contradict them to the point where it's like they're, you know, giving up main parts of their central like belief structure just to go ahead and continue to like, you know, fillet you and get you to some level of like agreement with them. You have to point out the contradiction, and that's, you know, rhetorically, I think that's a style you must do with these sorts of guys, at least. So
They're just, you know, they're chill about this sort of stuff. So I don't like a lot of Jews are secular. I don't think they believe any of this stuff. So I don't know if we're.
I went to Yale. I went to Yale, so I didn't know a lot of Jewish people.
And
But
so the Jewish people that you met at Yale, they were like, this is what we're about. We got to live a life of piety.
no. They were secular. They were extremely intelligent. They were very open-minded. They were very cosmopolitan. They were secular. Like I don't recall meeting any religious Jews. But what I've learned is this. Okay, you have about 1 million people. You actually don't need that many people in order to create a movement that has a direct influence on geopolitics. If only 1% of these 1 million people decide, you know what, we really believe in something fanatically, and we're willing to sacrifice our lives in order to achieve our goal, and we're willing to pour resources, and we're willing to spend the rest of our lives doing this. And not only that, but we're willing to indoctrinate our children to complete our mission and our grandchildren to complete this mission over the course of 100 years. Well, this 1% is going to have a lot of influence in finance, a lot of influence in business, a lot of influence in politics and geopolitics.
So you think it's the Chabad Lubavitch guys that have a lot of influence in finance? It's not just like even if, because the common trope is there's a lot of Jewish people in positions of power, right? In the field of finance and whatnot. I don't think any of those guys are a part of Chabad Lubavitch, or maybe some might be, but by and large, I think like there are some who are Zionists, some who have varying degrees of interest in like defending Israel's interests, but for the most part, they're, you know, they have their own self-interest. From my perspective, it's regardless of what someone's religious background is maintaining their class position, right?
Okay.
Jewish, Christian, doesn't matter. That's the way I interpret the world, at least, right?
Okay, all right. So there's certain things about Donald Trump.
Because I don't think Hasidic Jews run finance, is what I'm saying. That would be a shock to me.
Right. And I'm not saying that. I'm not saying like, you know, Chabad Lubavitch, they run everything, okay? But okay. This is like really complicated. So let me go step by step. Okay. Chabad Lubavitch, they're interested in religious meditation. They're interested in mysticism. Okay, they're interested in ideas. And so they focus all their energies on certain on meditation, okay? And what they pray for is, of course, the coming of the Messiah and the return of the Jews to Jerusalem and to be one with God. And if we believe the universe is pure energy, if we believe the universe is conscious, then these ideas would be uploaded.
Yeah, but what if we don't believe that? Like, what if, hear me out, we don't believe that shit, and we think that even that on the very best days sounds super fucking hokey.
To the universal subconscious.
That's so cool.
Does that make sense? Because
it doesn't make sense to me, but I'm listening. I'm open-minded.
Okay,
you know?
Right. But I
don't believe we're all uploading our energy into a collective consciousness or anything.
But I'm saying let's just work with that, okay? So through the meditation of thousands of people over decades, there are certain ideas that are embedded now in the universal subconscious. But as you're uploading, you're also downloading as well, right? And as you download, you get a pretty broad schematic understanding of the course of this universe, okay? And you appreciate certain geopolitical movements. For example, like the United States will win World War II and establish Pax Americana. For example, the Soviet Union would rise to challenge the United States. For example, the rise of China, okay? Like you could, like what I do, if through enough concentration, appreciate how these events would unfold over time. Well, if you know this is going to happen, this is great for people who work in business and in finance, right? Because it allows them to make better business decisions. And so they're attracted to your movement, not because they are religious zealots, because they're like, wow, this is a great way for me to make more money for myself, right?
So wait, hold on. So let me get this clear. So you're saying that there are people, right, Jews,
Yes.
non-Jews, in positions
Yes.
of power, and they find themselves attracted to this way of thinking, represented by Chabad Lubavitch, because they think hard and they meditate and they unlock the download and the upload that you're getting, because this allows them to make better market decisions and make more money.
That's right. Right. So the
Okay,
thing
where
is,
is the? You have to have some evidence for this, right? Because that seems a little far fetched, Professor Jiang.
This is so cool. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I think there's like a lot of like reading that I've done that's just like, yeah, it is exclusionary, you know, for like a lot of like overt
okay. Well, I mean,
whatever.
like, let's look at
But
the Epstein files, right?
the thing is, it's like this is all this conspiracy does is cover up the actual really basic conspiracy that was like outlined in the Panama Papers. Okay, that didn't do shit. Let's just be clear, Panama Papers didn't do shit. So it's like, yeah, those conspiracies. That's it.
Okay.
Why are these people like Bill Gates and Bill Clinton? Why are they hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein? What's your answer?
Jeffrey Epstein is a facilitator that was deeply embedded in a lot of these circles. Networker, most likely affiliated with Mossad, most likely affiliated with the CIA, and his job was quite literally to be the guy that everybody knows, who can be a fixer at times, and who can also be the person who mass produces sex trafficked children, sex trafficked models of adult age, and you know, create a sequence of blackmail files on every single very wealthy person that they could deploy at times if necessary.
Explain to me like why he was obsessed. Like there were a lot of emails where he was like, you know, like let's get pizza and grape soda, right? Pizza and grape soda.
So
right?
you think that was
Like,
code? Because he would straight up be like, you know, talking about how he wants to children too. So I've always been a little confused by that, because like, why is he using code words like pizza at times, and then other times he's just straight up being like, do not send me an adult prostitute. I would like a child prostitute, is what he would say in some of the.
So there were two major phrases that were like.
I mean, it's just talking to different people in different ways. That's all it is. Just, you know, I would talk to an enemy in a different way than I would talk to a friend. Pretty simple.
Confusing, right? The first was like pizza and grape soda. Okay, and the other was like going to the dentist. These kids are going to the dentist a lot, man. Like once a month or something like that. Like,
No. Well, the dentist one is understandable. That was actually, I mean, he also had the dental chairs in his compounds, and I think that was to, I mean, I don't know what he was doing, but it was definitely like some kind of either torture or some way of potentially removing their dental records after disposing of the victims, like something along those lines for sure. But again, that's more overt rather than covert.
Okay.
So why is he going overt at times, but then why is he also using the code word pizza?
Right. Okay. So I understand what he's doing, and I understand why Bill Gates and Bill Clinton would be attracted to him. Okay. But one thing that people never resolve, a question that people never resolve, is like, how did he get to his position where, you know, he knows the Rothschilds, where he where everyone's trying to be his best friend, right? It's not like him going to meet Elon Musk. It's like Elon Musk wants to meet him. There's
I mean, that's way after. So I think it was that school that he was working at as a math teacher, who the Bill Barr's father, I think, was the headmaster at. Yeah, and then he gets elevated. I think at some point he's connected with what's his name, Les Wexner, right? He goes to Dalton School. He gets connected with Les Wexner. He basically becomes like Les Wexner's potential love interest, allegedly. And also somewhere along the way gets access to all of his finances, becomes like sole financial guardian. And he just keeps, I mean, at some point I assume he was tapped in by the intelligence community to play this role, as they, I guess, saw him as a decent serial networker who could be in and out of these crowds.
Right. So let's go over his timeline. Okay. So as you point out, he gets a job at the Dalton School. Then he goes to Bear Stearns, and at age 30, he's invited by David Rockefeller to join the Trilateral Commission.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives an interview to Steve Bannon, and he's like, "Well, it's because I'm a math genius, and they want that. You're 30 years old." And
yeah, I don't believe that. I think it wasn't his math genius that caused a possible vestige of espionage to tap into what he could potentially do. I think it was just they thought that they could utilize him as a person that could be operating in these circles?
Okay, all right. So at age 30, he joins the Trilateral Commission, and then after Bear Stearns, he works for a man named Douglas Leese, who's an arms dealer, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's heavily involved in Iran-Contra.
Mm-hmm.
And then
So he's at that point he's obviously already affiliated, is what I'm saying. Like,
right, right.
Just...
And in the year 1991, Lex Wexner signs over power of attorney to Jeffrey Epstein. Who would you give power? You personally, I want to ask you, who would you give power of attorney to? Who would you be comfortable signing your power of attorney over to?
Probably nobody, but I do understand.
So.
Like, no, I'm not saying that it's not strange. I totally understand that. I think the reason for why he did that was because by that point he had already been tapped in, and he was the fixer for a lot of these powerful people, and had connections to the CIA.
Okay, so Lex Wexner, okay? Two things about him, okay? First of all, what's really strange about him is he signed over power of attorney.
Just like, no response, just, hey, I'm going to go back over this thing, because he asks a rhetorical question, and that's like how you're supposed to play the game here, right? With the con, and how, like, Professor Jiang is doing it. The entire con is just, you're supposed to play along when he asks you a rhetorical question, go, I don't know. You don't do that. In fact, if you don't do that, you destroy the entire con. And then it just kind of fucking ends. Right? And that's all it is. It's like, it's really, really, really simple, like, rhetorical debate tactic. If people aren't going to answer questions, you know, you don't really have a lot of reason to talk to them. So what you ought to do is instead repeat the same question over and over again until they answer or they do not answer said question. All right? More often than not, again, they won't answer the question. And because of their unanswering of the question, you can just mostly ignore them. You know?
To a guy he didn't really know well in 1991 named Jeffrey Epstein. The second thing is, like, he's the founder of something called the Mega Group, right? The study group. And the study group are responsible for a lot of Jewish charities, including Birthright Israel. So sponsoring all these Jewish teenagers to go to Israel for a couple weeks. I've actually been on a Birthright Israel trip. Yeah, really funny thing. I've been on a Birthright Israel trip. You haven't, but I have.
No, I have not. Oh, wait, but
right.
But okay, so we're going all over the place. I don't understand how any of this. So are you saying that Jeffrey Epstein had, like, he was a part of the mystical, Hasidim? That's the reason why.
Look, I'm trying to figure out why Jeffrey Epstein is put into the position that he is. And given his background, if I'm just looking at this objectively and saying, like, what's this guy doing? It seems like he's being trained for a special mission, right? And who would have the power?
Yeah, mass produce blackmail for very powerful people that you can deploy if necessary, while also being deeply embedded in, like, elite society, which is, I mean, I think there's utility for that for the CIA. There's utility for that for Mossad.
Right. But I use game theory. So I'm trying to figure out who would do this. Who would tell Lex Wexner to give Jeffrey Epstein power of attorney? Who would tell Douglas Leese to go hire this guy and train him up to work in intelligence and in, you
know, the CIA. The CIA, literally anybody that realizes what he's capable of. What?
You know, arms trafficking around the world. And I think, like, given all my research, okay, the person that would have the power, and I'm not saying it's him, but I'm saying, like, a person who would have the power to do this would be Rebbe Sneerson of the Chabad Lubavitch movement.
Okay.
So there are
I still don't understand how, like, I don't understand how that has anything to do with this Rebbe being, like what I can't connect here is, like, where is the mystical future sight power coming from for these magical mystical Rebbe?
Let's use our imagination, okay, and let's try to be Rebbe Sneerson and go into his mind and how he perceives the world. Okay, I'm Rebbe Sneerson, and I believe I'm a reincarnation of these great Jewish mystics who are now possessing me in order to fulfill the end times prophecy.
Okay.
The great reunion between the Jews and Yahweh. Okay, that's what I believe.
Now,
how do I go about doing this? Well, first of all, I need to create a transnational organization that can be politically effective in the United States and in Russia. Why? Because these are the two most powerful countries in the world at this point in history, and I know that because I've seen the future. Okay, so I need to create a political organization.
But wait, I'm in the Rebbe's mind, and I can see the future already.
Yes, you can see the future. Yes.
That
Okay.
already sounds far fetched. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like I don't think the Red Bay had the future foresight gifts, but okay.
Okay. Again, this is a thought experiment. Okay, we're just using our imagination, and
Mhm.
I'm trying to explain to you how this could have worked. I'm not saying this is what happened. I'm just saying like how do we add up all these different dots together? Okay, one is you have this guy who really believes he's a reincarnation of these different Jewish mystics that know the future, and his job is to implement the next phase of the plan. Okay, that's one. Number two is I now need to build organizations, and find individuals that can help me fulfill this plan. So I'm building Chabad Lubavitch both in Russia and in Israel and in the United States, because these are the three nations that are most crucial to helping me achieve my plan. Right. So these people are pulling their resources and buying up real estate as much as possible. What's really important for me is to figure out who could potentially be political allies.
I mean, why did they buy Brooklyn? I mean, Brooklyn real estate didn't even get better until like recently, until it got gentrified in the last couple of decades. Why didn't they just buy out Manhattan, for example? You know what I mean? If they had the future foresight, I feel like I would make plays on Manhattan instead of Brooklyn. You know what I mean?
Yeah, all right, man. Yeah, this is cool. This is really cool. This is so cool, man. I'm sorry. This is just really, really cool.
A lot of
I'm just happy.
Were
I hate this guy, man.
Like from Eastern Europe.
I hate that guy so
Russia,
much.
Right? And they just congregated in that area, and so
he makes the cultists like me look like more schizo than we actually are, and like that's fucking. It's just bullshit, man. It's just fucking bullshit, man. I just like going and looking at stars and feeling something sometimes. It's way more fun that way. Don't have to overcomplicate it. It's not fucking special. Okay, it's not like it's just fun, man. Just frolicking and shit, dude. It's just fun, man.
But once you congregate that area,
but if they have future foresight, it shouldn't matter, right?
Okay. Future foresight is not that specific. Future foresight gives you visions of how the global map works out.
Also, why haven't they been able to infiltrate China, you think? If I'm the Red Bay right now. I'm the Red Bay right now, right? Honestly.
Wait, sorry. Who says they have not infiltrated China?
I'm the Red Bay, right? And I'm thinking, okay, 100 years of Chinese humiliation. What's next? 100 years of Chinese prosperity. Okay.
Right.
Eventually, there's the excesses of the Cultural Revolution. And then Deng Xiaoping comes in, liberalizes the economy, reforms kick in, and then there's a period of instability in the aftermath of that. But ultimately, we get to the Xi Jinping era, right? China's rising. China's a rising superpower. I'm trying to get in there. Why haven't I got in there as the Red Bay?
Well, first of all, who says they have not infiltrated China?
You think the
I do.
Chabad Lubavitch has infiltrated China?
Yes, I do.
Wow.
But not the way you imagine.
Okay.
Okay. So, what do you think the Chinese elite care most about? The people in power. What do you think they care the most about?
What do I think the Chinese elite care most about? I don't know. I mean, probably stability. Like broadly, are we talking about the party's goals? Like, what do you mean Chinese elite?
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, you're a provincial governor of China or you're a billionaire in China.
Reservoir Kid Knockin is going over this as well, and he has no idea. He knows that Jiang beat his son.
Good morning.
Send him this. Send him this. Yeah, this guy is like a super schizophrenic guy. He's like really fucking out there, man.
Well, now I'm a part of the party. I'm a billionaire. I'm a business owner in China. I'm thinking, how do I perform to the best of my abilities, and how do I go up through the ranks of the party? If I'm a billionaire, I'm probably not going to make it to the top echelon of power, regardless. But I'm trying to be on Xi's good side. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay. Well, my priority would be this: to get my money and my children out of China.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You think that's what all the billionaires are trying to do? They're trying to get their money out of China?
Well, you just look at the statistics, right? The number, the amount of money leaving the country, the number of people fleeing the country, it's pretty overwhelming, right? And why? Because it's a one party state, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a billionaire. What's to stop the party from like taking my money the next day?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it happens all the time.
Right.
It's
right. So my priority, number one priority is to get
the
my money
prosperity
out of the
initiative.
Right, to get my money out of the country and to get my children out of the country, right? Now I need people to help me facilitate this process, to get my money out of the country, to money launder it, and to ensure my children are embedded in the elite circles of America, right? To get them to Dawson School, get them to Yale, to get them jobs at JP Morgan.
Okay. So
Right?
how does this connect back to Jewish control of China?
Well, because the Jews and the Chinese get along very well.
Oh,
Okay. But like, how does
Right?
that?
So,
But I
well,
don't understand how
because
that in any way, shape, or form creates because you're saying that the Red Bay has future foresight and
this
has
is a
already
thought experiment.
infiltrated.
I had no idea. I
Okay,
never met
you're
the guy. He's
speculating
dead.
that the Red Bay has future
Wait,
foresight, and he's
right,
like
right.
trying to infiltrate the Chinese halls of power. Here's the thing, though: if you're a billionaire and you've like fled China, or if you have significant amount of investment in the Western world, I suspect that you don't have the same level of connection within Chinese governance any longer, right? Because like when you do that sort of thing, especially I feel like in the Xi Jinping era, especially any kind of financial corruption of that sort is oftentimes stamped out pretty aggressively, and your ties are often severed with the party. So how does that translate back to party power? How does that translate back to influence within Chinese governance?
Okay, so what I'm doing is it's all a thought experiment. I'm not saying this is actually what happens. I'm saying like how this could potentially play out. Okay.
Yeah,
So
so
I read
I
this.
expanded on the thought experiment. I was like, so we agree China's rising as a rising power, as a global,
Right.
a global
Right.
superpower.
And do you agree that a lot of these billionaires, a lot of these powerful people are trying to move their money and their children out of the country?
But then they sever their
And
connection to
they're not
centers
severing
of
the
power
connection.
within China.
They're not severing the connections. All they're doing is they're moving their money and their children out of the country. Right. But they're not severing the connections. They're still where they are. They're still, in that political position that they are. They are still running factories, doing real estate deals in China. But they're trying to move their money and their children out of the country because that is the best strategy for them in order to ensure their safety. Right. Now, I need people who I can trust, who are powerful in America, who are well connected in America, who can help me facilitate this process, right? To get my kids into Yale, to move my billions and put them into real estate deals in the United States.
I don't think that's. I don't.
what the fuck is this dude talking about? Jewish control of China is like utterly fucking insane to me. I just like, I'm completely like, I'm lost. At this point, I've just been listening to him talk. I have no idea what he's at. I have no ability to comprehend anything that he's saying. Okay, I have no ability to understand anything that this dude is fucking saying, dude. It's like, it is rough, man.
I think that connection makes a whole lot of sense. I'll be honest. I don't think there's a Chabad Lubavitch connection. I just don't understand why it's a Chabad Lubavitch that's at the center of all of these theories.
Right. Okay. So I think a lot of problem is like,
especially because like, have you met like Hasidic Jews in general? Like, I mean,
I have not met Hasidic Jews.
I was about to say they're. I mean, like
Yes.
by and large, their financial circumstances broadly are not as great as you are presenting it. They're very poor.
I agree.
So
I completely
there's
agree.
a select group of them or something. Is that what's going on? With they're the ones who control the money?
Okay, so my first point is like the situation is not as static as you believe. It's people. It's lots of circles that intersect at certain points. Okay, does that make sense? I'm saying like Hasidic. So I'm not saying that Hasidic Jews run everything. Like that's absurd. I'm saying like there are different convergence points. Okay. Finance is doing finance. China's doing finance. Chabad Lubavitch is doing Chabad Lubavitch. But I'm saying there's certain convergence points, and it's these convergence points that matter.
Yeah, but I just don't understand. Like, it's not like China's like heavily invested in BNH or like Satmar Jews or something. You know what I mean? They're not. There's just like different different groups of people that own different properties, and that isn't distributed across the board. There's no like center of power here that is consolidated in the hands of the few in the way that you have represented it.
I completely agree. But again, I think there is a
like, it is just the I agree. I completely agree. I totally get what you're saying. It really is just trying to ingratiate yourself before somebody. And that's how people like Jiang continue their grift. And it's so frustrating to see. Because you start to see that in, like, other people around and everything, and it's just like, yeah, I cannot believe that it's it's always the exact same thing from every religious kook out there, man. It's just crazy when you make it a focus of your shit. Any, like, religious shit. Again, why do I not do the occult stuff? Because, one, some people take that shit way too fucking seriously. And just ignore their own, like, ability to live. Not good. In fact, I would argue it's bad. I don't like feeding into that. I think on the internet especially, like, people are especially, like, brain broken, right? You have, like, you're gonna get a lot of people that if you're gonna do, like, readings online and shit for, you're gonna get a lot of people who have something terrible happen in their life. They're freaking out. They're posting the first fucking thing that they can fucking think of, and that is asking whoever about deep, dark secrets. And it's really easy to, like, play the game. It is just manipulation. That is all, like, tarot and most of this occult shit is manipulating people and trying to figure out if you're doing it for good or if you're doing it for bad. So, you know, that's why I don't really like doing it online. Because it's just like, yeah, there's just some people that, yeah, I just don't think they can't handle that shit. And I think it's like most people that do, like, any sort of, like, occult, like, you go on, like, doing a pick a card thing on, like, a stream. I think, like, most of the time, probably, you should work on a lot of other things first. You know, to put it mildly, yeah, work on, like, everything else first. Before you do anything with that shit. Because, yeah, it's no bueno. No bueno. Don't be dumb.
Points of interest that lead to certain.
Lav does it for good. I mean, sure. I mean, if you want to do it for fun, that's fine. Just don't. I don't know, man. I am just generally against it. I don't know. At the end of the day, it is it is manipulation shit. That is it. It's fun. Okay? You can manipulate people for good. Right? It's not, like, impossible. It's just unlikely. You know, more than anything else. Just kind of unlikely that you're gonna do it. Most of the time, you're just gonna end up, like, manipulating somebody and they're just gonna be, like, super fucking ungrateful. You know? Like, makes me sound like an asshole, but I don't know. Be a funny clip.
Events unfolding. Okay, so let's continue the thought experiment where I'm Rabbi Schneerson and I'm creating this organization about Lou Ridge.
It could be a funny clip.
What else I'm doing is I'm identifying certain potential political allies. Okay, I'm in 1980s, 1990s in New York City. Okay, I'm Rabbi Schneerson. I'm looking around me, and, like, who do I think could potentially be a president of the United States? What kind of person do I think could run the White House, and who I could work with and co-opt over time?
You think they chose Donald Trump? That's what you think?
I think so. I think so.
That's crazy.
Okay.
All right. If you
look,
hey, listen.
Look. Okay. Number one, Donald Trump since the 1980s was saying, "I want to be president of the United States."
I know, but so do many people.
Okay. I understand. Okay. So I'm not saying they only pick Donald Trump. I'm saying, like, they're looking at different people, and it's like a VC fund, right?
There's some really weird luck where I got a tower and, like, death on a friend, and then they died. Then I had it again happen once to my other friend, fentanyl and driving inebriated. I haven't touched my cards since. I know it's just luck, but IDK. Yeah, I think it's the fact that all your friends are doing fent. You okay, man? Like, I'm not saying, like, you're reflected by your company or anything, but this is the sort of shit tarot doing it online absolutely fucking ruins people, man. Okay? People get way too fucking honest about that shit. Alright? Way too fucking honest. That was way too honest about that. Like, those friends are dead now. And no, this was in person. Well, I'm just saying, like, currently. Like, yeah, it's bad luck. I would just say, like, just out of, like, you know, superstition, right? I think, yeah, you probably should leave the cards, man. Like, you shouldn't, yeah, you should like just not pick up another tarot pack deck. You should just think about like everybody else that's alive right now and how like cool it is that they're alive. That's yeah.
You're putting your money in different companies, right? And so Donald Trump is someone that they're looking at because one, Donald Trump has been saying since the 1980s, I want to be president of the United States. Second of all, he's probably at this time the most famous American around the world, right? Like if you're
No.
like in Africa,
Donald Trump was
in
not the most
1980s?
famous. No, Donald Trump in the
Okay.
1980s was not the most famous American. You got Michael Jackson, you got Michael Jordan, 1990s. He was nowhere near
for a
the
lot
most
of
famous.
people,
He was barely famous in America. I mean, he was like in rap songs.
Like Donald Trump, just because like, and this is I think the one thing that fucking a lot of people miss, like Flaming Lips, right? The album after Yoshimi, right? What is it? The second song. And it's like, it is like kind of talking about how Donald Trump is just fake rich. You know? Shut up, Resi. Insensitive, like, what the fuck? It wasn't the cards, just, okay, cards feel heavy. I don't want to see their flip anymore, even though I don't believe it. Yeah. I know.
Stuff like that for
I'm like fucking with you a little bit. I'm sorry. I don't, where do you think we are? Do you think, like, I take endless abuse from all of you, all the time? It is normal and natural that I make fun of everyone else here, too. That is how the stream goes. It's how it always goes. No prisoners, man. Okay, no prisoners. We bully everybody here, all right?
period of time, but
I think if you're a poor person living in Africa, the person who
you think a
most
poor
admire-
person living in Africa knew who Donald Trump was in the 80s?
I think so.
No,
I think
that's
so.
crazy.
Because at this time in history, okay, like around the world, people are gonna associate the American dream of Donald Trump. This is a guy who got rich and he's able to, sleep with like movie stars. He's able to like.
No, I don't think he was seen like that at all. He wasn't seen like that at all. He had a wife. Like he was just like a weird real estate guy that was kind of gross. It's actually a big driver. It's a big motivator of his enmity towards the cultural elite. Is that he was never welcome because he was too rude and he was too nouveau riche. So that was his like big driving motivator to like destroy the cultural elite, the liberal intelligentsia. They mostly saw him as a cartoon figure.
I agree. Like in the 1980s, the rich saw Donald Trump as a clown. I agree with that. But again, like we're imagining we're very scenario. I'm like, who can we invest in? Like who would be a good investment? You're gonna invest in someone who's a real billionaire that everyone admires because it's gonna cost you a lot to invest in him. But you've got this guy, Donald Trump, who thinks he's rich, but who's not really rich, and who everyone detests, right? He's someone that you could nurture over time.
Nobody even detested Donald Trump. He was a joke. He was literally just a joke. His entire thing was that he was a joke. Right? Like, he did, like, Home Alone and shit. Like, yeah, he was a fucking joke. He always was. And then he wasn't a joke. And it's, like, not funny anymore. Like, Jiang is just recalling history incorrectly.
In Mar-a-Lago, there is a replica of the Ark of the Covenant in Mar-a-Lago.
Okay.
Do you know about
Wait,
this?
what?
No, but go on.
Okay, but you can actually Google this. There's a replica of the Ark of the Covenant in Mar-a-Lago.
Okay.
Whenever, like, Donald Trump has a 99% approval rating in Israel. They literally see him as the reincarnation of Cyrus the Great in
Well, they don't
Israel.
anymore. They fucking hate him now because he told Israel to stand down in Lebanon. His approval rating dipped like 60 points, I think, in a matter of 2 weeks.
Okay, but right, and
But before
but
he
they
was a very popular figure in Israel. They liked him a
right,
lot more
and
than
they see him as Cyrus the Great. Okay, the reincarnation of Cyrus the Great, someone who is going to take the Jews back to Jerusalem and build the third temple. Then
I'll be honest. Again, I don't think many Jews are as like religiously involved in this this messianic. Like, there's the red heifer stuff, but they're by and large. I think Zionism is a civic nationalist substitute for any kind of religious understanding of the world. So I think it's more so born out of like a level of self-preservation, self-interest, a fear that if there isn't a Jewish state, that like the Holocaust could happen again, things of that nature, and not necessarily this this religious ideology. Are there some Jewish people, like fundamentalists, who have this kind of perspective? Certainly, but they are not the majority at all. I don't think like the average Jewish person in Israel believes that Donald Trump is like truly going to lead Jews to the promised land. Right, I don't think that's the case. I mean, they like him because he's pro-Israel. Like that's pretty simple, and that's precisely the reason why now that he is seen as not as pro-Israel, because for the first time ever, Donald Trump is not. Donald Trump has been seen as being at odds with Netanyahu or restraining Israel in some capacity, albeit limited. His approval ratings declined dramatically.
Let me ask you this question, okay? And you can take a guess. But Javier Milei, when he became president of Argentina, his first foreign trip, okay, as a head of state of Argentina, was to where?
Yeah, Javier Milei is very pro. There are a lot of Latin American countries that are now changing rulers are all running on an openly pro-Israel slant. I mean, Venezuela also shipped oil to Israel, albeit symbolic, immediately after the coup. So I'm aware of all this, yes. But that is...
I'm saying Javier Milei's first foreign trip as head of state of Argentina was to where?
Israel, I assume, right? That's
wrong. The answer is Brooklyn. The first thing he did was visit.
Just comes back to fucking Brooklyn. It just comes back to fucking Brooklyn. It just comes back to fucking Brooklyn, dude. Okay. All right. Wow. That's awesome. That's so fucking cool. Okay.
Rebbe Sneerson's grave in Brooklyn. You can Google this.
Okay. I mean, this is all.
Wait. So I'm asking you who this guy is, Rebbe Sneerson. Like why would?
I don't know. I mean, he's just like he's a religious. He's like a random religious figure in America. But
okay, right. There are two videos on YouTube.
But he's also very pro-Israel, right? Like a lot of these Latin American countries and their leadership are now openly pro-Israel. And
wait.
Here's the thing. There's a reason for it, right? Like you're like, why the fuck would Javier Milei be pro-Israel? He's in Argentina, is the question.
No, I'm asking yourself, why would he go visit the grave of Rebbe Sneerson as the head of state of Argentina? His first foreign trip.
It's the same reason why people go and show support at the Wailing Wall, right? Like it's just to say like, oh, this I'm with you. Like it's a symbolic show of support. So I don't think there's any like spiritual reason for it.
There are two YouTube videos. Okay, the first YouTube video is Benjamin Netanyahu before he becomes prime minister. Okay, before he enters Israeli politics, he goes and meets with Rebbe Sneerson and says, "I ask for your blessing." And Rebbe Sneerson like blessing in politics or personal. Like in Netanyahu is like both personal and professional. And Rebbe Sneerson like, when is the Messiah coming? We must accelerate the coming of the Messiah. Like it's on YouTube. You can actually just go on YouTube and it's there. Okay, I'm not making this up. Okay, that's the first video. Second video is Rebbe Sneerson is greeting his followers, and one of the followers is like, "I'm the mother of Steven Spielberg, and I want your blessing." Okay, so I'm trying to figure out who this guy is and like how he's so well connected. Why is like all the most powerful people in the world?
I love conspiracy bullshit, man. It's just like absolute gobbledygook. It is like there is nothing to this. Like this is just like free association, no thoughts, no value.
Going to him and saying like, "Give me your blessing."
Like this is sloppy as fuck. Holy fuck, man.
I mean, you just brought up a very wide range of people. Steven Spielberg's mother is not one of the most powerful people on the planet.
No, but Steven Spielberg is
also
right.
Also, once again, yeah, it's a show of support for a specific sect of Judaism. I don't think it's like. I don't think it's necessarily anything beyond that. I mean, it's like visiting the Pope. Like if people are doing that because they're like, yeah, that's the Pope. You know,
the Pope is one of the most powerful people in the world, right?
I mean, the Pope has a lot of influential power, but I don't think people are necessarily visiting the Pope because they feel like there's like a secret society that they're tapped into. It's debatable how powerful the Pope is.
But I'm saying, like, if you're Catholic and the Pope gave you a call and says, "Hey, can you give this guy who's my friend power of attorney?" I think all Catholics would do that, right?
I don't think the Pope is making phone calls like that. I'm gonna be honest.
I'm not saying that either. I'm saying like if that were the case, right?
So this ties back to the Rebbe that we were talking about. You're saying that he made the call to.
Yeah. So like, and this is it. It's just like, well, I don't have any evidence of that, and I'm not even suggesting that. I'm just saying, think about it, right? It's just there's nothing to pithy conspiracy like this. Pithy conspiracy is a plague. He's not even good at it, okay? Like, he's really bad at it. That's the worst part, man. You know, it's not the like kind of ushering in a backslide towards fascism that gets me. No, it's him making boring ass conspiracies and me wanting to do better.
Less Wagner.
It's never that simple. He told someone to go tell someone to go tell someone to go tell someone, and then Lex Wexner did that. It's like circles and circles. It's never that's that like simple, right? It's not like
Okay.
Rebbe Sneerson, right? It's like Rebbe Sneerson's like, you know, like basically saying, I bless this man, Jeffrey Epstein, right? The word gets out to someone else, and Lex Wexner's like, oh, well, you know, if Jeffrey Epstein is approved by Rebbe Sneerson, then I can give him power of attorney and I can develop him fully to his potential, right? I think these things are much more amorphous, much more ambiguous than people appreciate. And that's why, like, if you actually talk to these people, they think you're nuts if you point out the connections, right?
I mean, not really. There's again, there are a lot of religious leaders that people show support to. I mean, I think Zohar Mamdani went to the Rebbe's grave too. It's like it's just a thing that you
Really?
do because you're
Really?
yeah, it's a thing that you do.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a thing that you do in order to gain favor from different constituents that are going to go out and vote. It's just like it's the same as like going to the when Michael Bloomberg went to the same mosque that Zohar Mamdani went to. That doesn't mean Michael Bloomberg is like secretly Shia Muslim now. You know what I mean? It's just a way to signal your support to these different groups in a relatively diverse environment like New York. Javier Milei is also a bit of a weeb for Judaism. Kaya, what are you doing, girl? But that's a separate situation, I think. Having said that, once again, there is a reason, as I was trying to say, that there are a lot of like Latin American leaders that show support to Israel. But I don't think it's like some secret messianic Jewish conspiracy, but rather it's a way to signal support for Western foreign policy, specifically American foreign policy that you will be a loyal servant to.
Why are there so many IDF soldiers?
Yeah, because America will invade the ever-loving shit out of you for little to no reason, in fact. It's pretty fucking awesome. It's pretty fucking cool.
In Argentina?
I don't know, vacationing or there's the Patagonia fires, right? That's what you're.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact details of what's going on there, as far as like what may have taken place, but as far as as far as land grabs or whatnot, I don't know how that translates to again some kind of like grand Jewish conspiracy.
I'm not saying there's a grand Jewish conspiracy. I never said that. I'm not saying the Jews control the world. I'm not saying they're conspiring to control the world. All I'm saying is there are forces at play. And once these forces converge together, this offers you a better insight into how geopolitics works.
And it's, again, the forces in question, the Jews. It's not like a really complicated or hard to understand like stratagem. It is just repackaging like centuries old conspiracy theories about Jewish people and acting like this time it's real, that it's like entirely that. No, the cabals are just people who make lots and lots of fucking money and who want to protect that money. It is not restricted to the Jews or any other thing. In fact, even in much smaller cases, cults, you will see these actions occur. That sort of shit works on people, you know?
Simple dialectic materialism. That's all I'm saying, right? Because like the Rebbe Sneerson is just a thought experiment, right? I'm trying to figure out. I never met this guy. I know nothing about him.
Are they Republican or Democrat? Super leftist, kind of like caucuses with the Dems. Schizo theory person. Who just make shit up.
I don't think any of these guys believe in the spiritual stuff. I think they just look at the situation. They look at the world as a matter of self-interest, advancing their self-interest. And many powerful people in positions of power, they're not in like secret societies or whatever. They're pretty open about their ambitions. They don't do it in like cigar-filled rooms. They do it at Davos. They do it at G10 summits where they get together and they just say, "Look, this is our. We have to maintain control over the Middle East." Iran is a sovereign nation, and as a sovereign nation, it presents tremendous destabilizing power against Israel, which is our unsinkable aircraft carrier in the region that is a destabilizing force. And if there are some people in Israel that believe the messianic, the end times conspiracies or whatever, that's fine. But I don't think that's the major motivating principle of the likes of Benjamin Netanyahu, for example. I mean, he's a conservative Jew that grew up in Philadelphia. So I don't think that like he's a firm and committed believer in that. I think he just wants to leave a lasting legacy and expand the boundaries of Israel. That's what I think he's doing, and it just works. These interests coalesce with America's interest in the region.
Okay, and I would say I would agree with you on this, but at the same time, I think that if we just use this perspective, okay, then we would have to conclude that eventually this war against Iran will end, right? Because it's not in their best interest for this war to continue for too long. Is that correct? Like I'm trying to figure out. Okay, we have this model of the universe, which is dialectic materialism, self-interest, and so let's extrapolate from this and figure out.
There are other competing forces here as well. Obviously, like America has to save face. America has to maintain force projection capabilities. That's like the entire underpinning of the dollar being the reserve currency. If America's military might is bested by a middle power like Iran because it has complete control over the Strait of Hormuz and can dominate the American military that way and dominate global capital that way, then obviously, America's no longer the superpower we once thought it was. That would destabilize everything. So there is the competing interest there of America trying to save face to the best of its ability. So I suspect that they'll try to wean out of the situation and probably maintain this like weird limbo where is there a memorandum of understanding? Will Iran actually get sanctions relief or not? I suspect that the reasonable thing to do in this circumstance would be to actually retreat from the rest of the globe in the way that we've dominated, and instead move to, I guess, harden our defenses in the Donroe Doctrine in the Western Hemisphere, and redouble our efforts there, and not try to pick as much of a fight in the Middle East. I don't know if we'll do that. I'm just saying that would be the reasonable thing to do.
So let me ask you this: do you think the Al-Aqsa Mosque will be destroyed?
I hope not, but that is definitely the goal of a lot of there's definitely a group of people in Israel that want to do it. I mean, there's like archaeological digs that they're conducting underneath the mosque in a specific attempt to like destroy the foundation that it remains on top of.
Right, but I'm saying like this: if we just looked at the world from a purely dialectic materialist perspective,
what?
I mean, it'd be insane to destroy the Al-Aqsa Mosque. I mean, like you would incite a religious crusade, right? I mean, like you have like.
I mean, I believe there are people who believe a litany of different nonsensical things, and that could motivate them to take action. I understand that. I'm not discounting that at all.
So all I'm saying,
I just don't think that there is a. I think that as long as it coalesces or converges with the interests of more powerful nations like the United States of America, or as long as it's in the interest of Benjamin Netanyahu to maintain a coalition with the more fundamentalist, more religious Jews in his coalition, he will make it seem as though that's fine, and he won't make he won't like force them to retreat in any capacity as long as they don't like destabilize too hard. But things do happen. They might end up, doing something that's like completely chaotic. But I don't think it's I don't think it's going to bring about the end times prophecy, is what I mean.
Okay, all right. So I think here you and I would agree where maybe we can use economic self-interest to explain 95%, right? But then there's this unpredictable religious fanatical element to it, maybe 5%, that changes the vector of events, right? So if there were no religious fanaticism going on, okay, we can predict how this war will end up. But because there are these religious fanatics, maybe 5% of the population, and we're talking about like both in the United States, in Israel, in Iran, these are just religious fanatics, and they want this war to achieve their end times prophecy. And you and I agree, like they probably won't achieve their end times prophecy, okay? But that doesn't mean they won't try. And because they will do certain things, then these events will basically become catastrophic, right? So I think right now the war is containable. But if the Al-Aqsa Mosque is destroyed, right, then all bets are off. Like we don't know what's gonna happen now.
Yeah, if like a really, really crazy thing happens, then like no one knows what could happen. Wow. Very cool. This is like revelatory in ways I never expected. I fucking hate this guy. I despise this dude. Like all of my fucking heart.
I mean,
Hasan seems chill. It is. Counterpoints, Civil War has been real quiet since North dropped his 2-minute video explaining why actually Sweeping for Destiny is more principled republicanism, actually. Oh. Oh, I didn't know that, Firsty. Also, I have literally no idea. I've been busy. I I've just it's just been kind of life's just been kind of busy lately. So, you know, big stuff, good stuff, great, good things are happening. Okay, good things are happening. All right, there are good things on the horizon, and it makes me happy. Yeah.
Who knows? Who knows how the Muslim world reacts? They have, I mean, they've conceded quite a bit because Israel has, in line with the United States of America, Israel's been a fairly dominant force in the region. And given that they've turned a blind eye to the massacres of the Palestinians in Gaza, I don't know if the Arab world or the Muslims would revolt. Probably, maybe, and I don't know where that would go. But I don't think this is like. My point is, I don't think that this is an event that's being triggered deliberately by design by a group of individuals that are secretly controlling society in any meaningful capacity or have an understanding of the future or can see the future. It's just more so people that are, self-invested and some who believe in ridiculous things. And you keep those forces at bay to the best of your ability. But the only reason why they're a part of the Netanyahu coalition, for example, is because of immediate political reasons, immediate domestic political reasons, and not like a much larger, much broader, cult that is a towering force behind closed doors.
Okay, so let me make my argument, and you tell me if it makes sense to you. Okay, so I'm not saying there is a top-down system of secret societies where they control everything, and we are just slaves to their whims. But there are lots of people embedded in different positions of power. They may be formally or informally attached together, but they have certain beliefs that are similar. Okay, so you have these Christian Zionists, and you have these Zionists, and you have these Mormons and other groups. Okay, they're not aligned. They don't have these meetings, conferences where they get together and say, like, let's plot to destroy the world together. Okay, they don't do that. They have certain belief systems that align, which call for the return of the Jews to Jerusalem, which calls for war in the Middle East, which calls for.
Yeah, but I don't think that's happening either. That's my point. Because there's, okay. I mean, again, from all the Jewish people I know that live in the United States of America, some Zionists, some anti-Zionists, many anti-Zionists, ain't nobody's trying to live in Israel. They're not going to Israel, no matter what happens. And this includes like Michael Rappaport, for example. That motherfucker loves Israel and he lives in New York. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like there's no drive for many of these people to go and live in Israel to like trigger the end times.
Connor was never principled. Well, no, and I think that it's like, I think it's just kind of, I mean, what do you do when the party that you support, for all the reasons you support them, completely abandons you on like a, rational level, like what do your politics become at that point? And it's just like, yeah, well, I guess you become Connor, and sucks for Connor. Gotta say, sucks for Connor. But I also, as an addendum, I have one other thing I would like to say, which is that it's also not my fucking problem. Haha, get fucked, Connor. Glad your party fell apart. Yeah, I think you have like a pretty shit party, and they've classically been this way, and you're now just eating the fruits of your labor. You'll be your ideology will be remembered as a joke after you kill 30 million American, like, kind of lefty-ish people, I think. I think that's, like, I think that's where we're going. And yeah, it'll be cool. It'll be cool to die. Yeah. Yep.
Prophecy.
How do you explain the rise of anti-Semitism after October 7th? Right? I mean, you're on social media. You notice how before October 7th, no one talked about the Jews.
No, there's always been like people. Look,
it's definitely gotten more vocal. I mean, the reason why this shift has happened is simply because, the state of Israel has been going absolutely crazy. A lot of troglodytic, glad-handed merrymakers, all right, just kind of have come out from the shadows to repackage all the same old Jewish conspiracy shit that they always have. And this time, people are kind of also associating their real life struggles with the fact that it seems like we went to war on the behest of another country for little to no reason when we're supposed to be doing other shit. And yeah, a lot of people fucking hate that. A lot of people are like really against that, shockingly enough. I know it's like kind of crazy to believe that people could just not like those decisions. And that, yeah, most people also can be kind of rubish and easily distracted and misled into believing that there's some grander conspiracy involved in most of this shit. And a lot of times they're not. They're just, just kind of cucked. So it's not super common.
There's two different kinds of anti-Semitism, right? There's like the way that people will casually say, like, oh, Jews are in finance, Jews are in Hollywood, but they also made Seinfeld, and I love Seinfeld, so it's fine, right? Like that's been the otherization of Jews for quite a long time, and then there's always been people who are like, no, Jews are at the heart of a lot of these conspiracies, like the old-fashioned anti-Semitism, the protocols style of anti-Semitism that neo-Nazis have tried to bring back into the forefront in perpetuity. As far as like post-October 7, the increase in hatred of Jews is a direct consequence of the anti-Semitic incidents spiking in the aftermath of Israeli sieges in the past. Whenever Israel sieges Gaza, it does so by falsely claiming that it's doing this at the behest of Judaism, at the behest of, like, Zionists are, Zionism is Judaism. We're doing this as the Jewish state over and over again. And the defense of that in the Western world is always packaged in the same way. And as a response to that, people hear that and they go, okay, well, I don't fuck with this. So maybe all of these people that are in positions of power that happen to be Jewish are actually bad, and they're, demonstrating dual loyalty, right? And that's how it builds. That's how anti-Semitism grows. And as a matter of fact, many people who were prominent neo-Nazis, been deplatformed on numerous occasions, have taken advantage of Israel's newfound unpopularity in the Western world to push for this idea that all of these Jews they're all single-mindedly in defense of Israel. And there are plenty of American Jews, there's plenty of American Zionists that will actually say this over and over again. They will teach people this falsehood, this idea that all Jews are single-mindedly invested in the development of the Greater Israel Project, when that's not the case.
Shout out Brianna Woo. Boop boop. Yeah.
And institutions also do this as well, like synagogues that do settler fairs and advocacy organizations like the ADL that will then go around and go on television and
First tee. I just went and watched that North is live vid. He doesn't get it. Destiny's gonna build something you'll see. The Gesticle Manifesto is gonna change everything for Destiny. YouTube will remonetize, Twitch will unban. It's so obvious. It's honestly crazy. I would have left a comment. Oh, okay. I know this is Westside Tyler. I know what I'm asking here, but I thought it was really funny how he went on how painfully pathetic it is to refer to your online haters as like snark. I'm gonna be honest, I'm kind of interested. I'm not interested at all in Westside Tyler's like Destiny like commentary. I'm just gonna be real, I'm just not. Like I thought I could like fake it for a second, be like, oh, I'm really no, I'm not. I'm not that interested. No matter what it is, it's like you're never gonna convince me to be interested. Have they snarked Tyler yet? Like, when did they get to Snark Week Tyler Day? Like that's what I'm wondering, okay? That's been buggering me, It's not a term or anything like that. Yeah, it's not a term.
Say that all prominent critics of Israel are anti-Semitic.
Okay, so I'm not plugged into social media as well as you are, and I'm based in China. But I will tell you this: I noticed a distinct difference in social media postings pre-October 7th and post-October 7th. Pre-October 7th, there was a real focus on anti-racist thinking and behavior, right? Like, let's not conflate people into their racial groups, and let's not discriminate against certain racial groups, okay? And that was pretty clear and stark on social media pre-October 7th. After October 7th, very rapidly, like, you had all these people saying the Jews are responsible for everything. I'm like, okay, first of all, why was this sudden sea shift, right? This sudden shift in mentality. That's number one. Number two is, are people really that stupid they can't conflate that they have to conflate anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism? I mean, I think it's okay to say, like, I disagree with Israel's policies, but then to say these Jews are controlling the American government, I think these are two different things altogether.
First of all, there's a lot of stupid people. Let me stop you there. And number two, there's a lot of, I mean, Elon Musk purchased Twitter. The algorithm, under the auspices of free speech, was tweaked at the behest of a lot of neo-Nazi sentiment. I mean, Adolf Hitler gifs were going viral almost on a weekly basis, almost on a daily basis. So there's definitely a little bit of algorithmic tweaking there as well that normalizes this kind of attitude. And Twitter is, I mean, the internet it always cross-pollinates information from one social media platform to the next. So whatever happens on Twitter then makes its way to TikTok, then makes its way to all these other platforms. But the point I'm trying to make is that there is, like, a lot of people heard what prominent defenders of Israel were saying, and they learned the wrong lesson. Because prominent defenders of Israel, even to this day, will often conflate Judaism and Zionism, and will also defend Israel's actions by falsely painting.
Man, Food doesn't tell. That's how he basically started off as a react. That's the only part of the VOD I would even ask somebody to look at. Neat. Okay.
Its critics as anti-Semitic.
It's even funnier that North is literally 2 videos and all hidden VODs on that channel. So it's completely empty except his cringe as fuck Cope video about how cool Destiny is. Yeah, you know. Yeah, man. It's being sold a dream, you know? I have, like, thought about it a little bit, like, how some of it works. And I'm like, I am trying to empathize with, like, DGGers, I guess. Just out of, like, at this point, like, a sense of morbid curiosity more than anything else. Like, what could drive a man? You know, what could drive a man this way? And I realize, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like you gotta be pretty friggin' lonely for that, you know? Like, pretty friggin' lonely. And, yeah. Cool. Like, what else am I to say? I feel like that kind of goes for, like, a lot of, like, people that replace, like, almost all socialization, like, familial included, right, to, you know, interact with, like, an online community. I think there is something, like, terrifying there that, yeah, ought be understood as terrifying. You know?
And for the longest time, this anti-Semitism accusation held a lot of weight. Part of the reason why it held a lot of weight is because there are a lot of liberal.
Well, no, the lolcow thing has been since he got banned on Twitch. Right? It's like, that's when it started, right? Because the getting banned on Twitch had this dramatic change that occurred, like, around it, where Destiny, not only was he banned on Twitch, he was also, like, losing friends in, like, the Twitch ecosphere. The Twitch ecosystem, I should say. Rapidly and, like, unceasingly. You know? And because of that, I think that there's, like, a certain level of additional derangement that ultimately, like, kind of shows itself, and, like, we've been able to, like, you know, observe, right? Like, the good scientists that we are, you know, looking at our simian friends, I suppose, right? And yeah, I do think that there is something that changed there. I don't know how exactly to describe it, but, you know, that's when, because, like, I always, like, I've been thinking about, like, the old slogans and shit. It's like, oh, Hasan's too afraid to debate Destiny. And, like, that's, like, mostly disappeared, even from, like, the digital ground game, like, Destiny Twitter psyop shit Okay, that they've been like that fucking op that they've been running and shit. Okay, like it's a fucking op. Everybody knows it's a fucking op. It's not even a good op. All right, you're just raising money to go ahead and, you know, justify going after Hasan again. It's pretty cool. You know, pretty cool that you can do that. Definitely not directly harmful to democracy or anything to go after somebody that ostensibly is aligned against you in like the thing that will also consume and destroy you, because they hate you more than they hate Hasan even, which is crazy, right? Like everybody hates him, but you know, it's fine. It's fine.
Advocacy organizations that
I didn't start
were
watching
civil rights-
Shud until 22, 23. Yeah, the 2020 shit, like, I wasn't even here for all of that. I just, like, kind of looked back over it, and, like, none of it's great, man.
organizations are masqueraded as civil rights organizations like the
A lot of
ADL,
it's pretty bad.
which in the past, in the 90s, was actually caught spying on Jewish Americans, Black Americans that were protesting apartheid in South Africa, and an organization that is backed by the Israeli Knesset. And the reason for why a lot of these pro-Israel organizations that masquerade as pro-Jewish organizations or Jewish advocacy organizations were allowed to operate on U.S. soil was not because of like some special secret magical mystical powers that Jews have, but because this was a reasonable way to stamp out any kind of opposition that Americans who believe in or learn liberal humanitarian values would actually be at odds with what Israel was doing if they learned what Israel was doing, right? So a good way to stamp that out, good way to stamp that dissent out was to immediately deplatform a lot of these organizations. But because it was in line with the American state,
Like, ultimately, I think the whole, like, Destiny thing has just been, I need to get Hasan to debate me. If I could get him to debate me, I'll prove it this time, guys. I'll prove it this time. But it's like, that's not even, like, where we're at. It's just, like, we're so far beyond that. Like, he's done, like, the real political advocacy. Have you guys ever seen, like, that movie? Fuck. It's like this person is, like, born 3 times. Like, they trans at one point. They go trans at one point. Pre something or another. It's like predetermined, whatever. It's a really cool movie, and it's a sci-fi joint. Okay, it's a good sci-fi joint. I like it. Where was I going with this? I might have completely lost my train of thought. That's bad. That's rough. That's bad.
department's objectives of controlling this resource-rich region, the Middle East and North Africa, because that's what Israel's primary role was, and also was a reliable Cold War ally as well. These organizations were allowed to operate, just like AIPAC doesn't get hit with FARA restrictions on U.S. soil. But that's the exceptional nature of this relationship, only because Israel made itself a very valuable asset for the interests of American capital. American capital that wanted to dominate this oil-rich
I completely
region.
agree. I completely agree with everything you said. Okay, like everything you said, I completely agree with. Behind Zionism is transnational capital. That's real power in the world. That's one. Number two
Okay.
is the people who really benefited from all this anti-Semitism are the Zionists, right? Because it gives them
I
cover.
don't necessarily think that they benefit from it. I think that, I mean, it's clearly failing at this point. So that's like,
I would say there are some clear benefits from all this Semitic sentiment online. Okay, number one is it gives cover to Israel, right? Because before people were focused on the genocide that Israel was committed, as they rightfully should be, but now it's like, oh, this is debate. Like, is your behavior anti-Semitic? Is this threatening Jewish people in America? Okay, so you're shifting the debate.
No, it's like predetermined or something. Sci-fi joint, like a. Predestination. Right? So, Predestination. Really cool fucking movie. But the very end of it is a scene where there's a guy and his entire goal, he starts like doing these bombings, and, you know, because of that, there's this like time police force that, exists and shit, and they're out there trying to prevent these bombings from happening. And then so he's called like the Fizzle Bomber, right? And his entire existence is just him trying to come back into contact with himself in various points in time, so that way he can also give birth to himself. It's a really cool movie. Yeah, but they're called the Fizzle Bomber. The last scene is like the Fizzle Bomber seeing a younger version of himself. So I imagine Destiny as like the Fizzle Bomber. Like this dude's like losing hair. Everything's like falling the fuck apart for him. But he's like, I just wanted to see you. You're so beautiful. I don't know why. I've had that like as like an idea in my head for a while. I don't really know how to execute on that. But yeah, I don't know. It does seem like kind of psychosexual with Destiny and Hasan. I don't know. I think maybe they dated once. You know what I mean? I could totally see them dating. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
That's one. Number two is it's causing cohesion.
I know, but it doesn't work. That's the reason why I'm saying like there is no. It only worked when mainstream media was not as diverse. It only worked when there was an opportunity to gatekeep certain kinds of information to stop them from reaching collective conscience. It doesn't work in the diverse landscape of the internet.
I think it's working for two demographics that are key to the Great Israel Project. The first demographic are the Jewish people themselves. It's causing a lot of cohesion and unity among the Jewish people. Even those Jews who are secular and who have criticized Israel in the past, they recognize that it's very important to maintain unity. That's the first demographic. And the second demographic are the baby boomers. I think if you talk to the baby boomers and you pull the baby boomers,
this I don't agree with, and I'll tell you why. Okay. Number one, there is a massive generational divide even amongst American Jews as far as the way that they understand Judaism and their connection to the state of Israel. It's not a secret that there's an indoctrination project in the Western world for young Jews that live in the Western world. They go to Jewish school, and all matter of Jewish culture and Jewish identity is baked with this civic nationalist perspective, right? That has changed dramatically. That's changed dramatically for younger Jews. As a matter of fact, part of the reason why a lot of these advocacy organizations target someone like myself is because I fight back against anti-Semitism quite vociferously, while also simultaneously am a prominent critic of the state of Israel. And a lot of these advocacy groups understand that someone like Nick Fuentes has no capacity to actually change the minds of young American Jews and break through the Zionist indoctrination, whereas someone like myself does have that capacity, which is why Jonathan Greenblatt will talk about me, and I'm sure he's going to have a field day with this conversation as well, for hours and hours on end on television, as opposed to talking about actual anti-Semites like Nick Fuentes or even Candace Owens, who will go back to this monolithic organized Jewry theory that I oppose. So that's number one. Number two, there's also the way that even boomers now see Israel, with the exception of some Christian evangelicals and maybe some of the older Zionist Jews. Most Americans and most people in the Western world, unlike the rest of the world, had never actually viewed Israel as a pariah state. The rest of the world always did, right? They understood that Israel was a settler colonial operation. It's a vestige of American empire.
The rest of the world, no, they didn't. That's bullshit. That is utter bullshit. There's like, everybody was dealing with Israel for a very, very long time. They were doing dealings. Like, the connections between like Mossad and, Russian intelligence and shit, like stuff like that has been widely known for extreme amounts of time. Like, I think Hassan's just, I think here he's just like kind of doing a little bit of a bullshit. He's bullshitting us a little bit. Don't like that. It's not good. Not good.
But now, even those in the Western world, given the barrage of heavy-handed accusations of anti-Semitism, demands of deplatforming, demands of cancellation, demands of like losing your job, and maybe even imprisonment in places like the UK, have created tremendous enmity towards the nation state of Israel. So I think Israel got far too comfortable in the last multiple decades, where it was where it had the capacity to influence domestic policy, and it thought that it could continue operating in the ways that it does in the Western world, and it has actually backfired spectacularly, which is also the reason why you're seeing a lot of Western governments take a much more heavy-handed approach in combating any kind of criticism of Israel in ways that we thought previously were impossible to govern around. They've overplayed their hand. And so I don't think that I think that Israel's popularity has actually gone down. It hasn't gone up. And it's actually going to have a devastating consequence for the Zionist project in the next decade.
I think it's gonna have a devastating. It's also gonna have a devastating consequence for like Jews throughout the world as well, right? Like that's just like a fucking given. That like the Zionist project, you know, you gotta remember a part of that is creating the conditions that draw people back to, you know, Israel as well as all of the rest of it. Like, you know, creating like terrorism in other countries. So that way you could just get people to just come back to Israel. You know, that's that is something that happens. You know, something that happens. So anyways.
Okay, so I agree with everything you said. Okay, absolutely, like 100%.
It has to be always though, Rezi. How will you get his heckin' 6-7 borders? Cool, thanks. Yeah.
Where you and I would disagree is...
Sorry.
I would say that...
I'm very, very sorry about that. I'm sorry. I am very sorry. That was bad. That was uniquely bad.
I still think of the Western world as democratic, and I would say that's no longer true. It's become an oligarchy, where only a few, where only a minority control all the wealth, all the power. So as long as the Zionists are able to appeal to a certain segment of the population, the baby boomers, basically, and not even all the baby boomers, I'm talking like, you know, the 10 to 20% of the baby boomers who control all the power and the wealth in the world, they're still able to carry through their agenda, okay? An example I will use is this. Larry Ellison and his son, you know, they spent billions of dollars taking over CBS and CNN, and they've installed Barry Weiss. And all the reporting is that Barry Weiss is ruining both, I mean, she's ruined CBS News, right? And she'll probably ruin CNN as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, you know, like these guys, the Ellisons, they're not dumb guys. Why would they spend all this money taking over CBS News and CNN and installing Barry Weiss, who is not very popular among reporters?
In order to defend Donald Trump and also defend Israel's interests, like quite deliberately, yes.
Right, and so I would say, and it works because really, in
no, I don't
right
think
now,
it works. I don't think it works. It doesn't work because there's already a crisis in confidence in mainstream outlets already. That's part of the reason why people are actually much more. People are approaching this issue much differently. This crisis has been brewing. There's a legitimacy crisis in mainstream media. It's been brewing since the Iraq War, when, you know, New York Times and all these other outlets, at the behest of the American State Department, lied to the American people, told them that there were WMDs, we had to go to war. It created a massive fissure in the way that Americans saw mainstream outlets. Then during COVID, there were a lot of people who did not agree with the perspective of epidemiologists, and the media was trying to do their very best for the public good. So in that instance, they weren't literally lying.
I feel like we're kind of neglecting the stuff that happened with Cambridge Analytica. I think we should, and we ought to mention mention Cambridge Analytica, because Cambridge Analytica kind of blew the lid off of, hey, guess what? Now all of us understand how easy it is to fully control like this country through social media manipulation. Cambridge Analytica hinted that could happen, and then what has happened for fucking, you know, like what happened with the 2024 election, right? Like we saw some of the most insane levels of bot behavior, from like phones to everything else, as well as a inept, inconsequential Democratic Party that was not equipped to go ahead and fight a literal cyber war, a asleep at the wheel Biden administration that wasn't doing anything to combat this. And yeah,
the American public, they were just doing their very best. They were, you know, operating as the fourth estate. But that still created a massive fissure. And I think that the last 3 years, the way that mainstream outlets covered this genocide versus the way that people could see this genocide unfold in real life, in front of their eyes on social media also increased that division, and it almost collapsed the legitimacy that people have for mainstream media in its entirety. So now this purchase of CBS or the purchase of TikTok and all the algorithmic gaming is not going to be able to combat the enmity that people have towards Israel.
Okay, so let's talk about Thomas Massey, right? This is an incumbent who is very popular, and who has done a lot for his constituents. And you know, three billionaires, Miriam Adelson, Paul Singer, John Paulson, they spent about like $30 million to $35 million. And there's only one demographic that oppose Thomas Massey, and it's the baby boomers. So you would think, just given this, you would think Thomas Massey would win the primary easily, right? And I actually thought that he would win the primary easily, yet he lost by 10 points.
Yeah, I mean, it's a cult. Republicans are a straight up cult. They're unbelievably cult-like. Donald Trump hates Thomas Massey because Thomas Massey does the Epstein files. Thomas Massey is a major critic of Israel. Donald Trump wants to reassert his influence over the party. He puts Thomas Massey in the crosshairs. There's also $35 million in ad spend. And yes, baby boomers do watch television, and they are very malleable. And all of a sudden, Thomas Massey is eliminated, right?
Right. And I would say Washington, D.C. is a bubble right now where the people there basically are aligned on many big topics, right? Especially Israel. You know, Section 219 of the National Defense Authorization Act, it's passed, and now you will see a slow merger of these two militaries, right? Israel and the United States. And they're doing this, as you point out, because like they need a pit bull, they need Israel in order to secure American interests in the Middle East. And this is a way to circumvent congressional oversight, right? So I'm saying, like, given these trends, given what happened to Thomas Massey, given the NDAA, given the fact that Washington is essentially a bubble that they all think alike, whether it's Democrat or Republican, like look at what Chuck Schumer has said about Israel, right? What reason do we have to be optimistic that there is going to be a turning of the tide against Israel?
The literal worldwide turning of the tide against Israel. That, yeah, America's classical allies like Britain, yeah, they just were like, yeah, we're not gonna, you know, Keir Starmer, all right, you know, top guy, all right, we miss him for this. He did tell Trump not to use the air bases until he was like goaded by a bunch of fucking losers who are pretending like America is anything other than like a, you know, sycophant, like psycho state for Israel. Yeah, I don't know where else to go there.
Well, I don't know if you're familiar with what I do as my work, aside from commentary, but you know, we are electing a lot of anti-Zionists into office from the Democratic Party side, and we've overcome tremendous amounts of media spend coming from AIPAC and AIPAC subsidiary shell corporations in all of the races that I've been involved in thus far, and yet within the Democratic Party, because there is no similar cult-like attitude that the Republicans have, the Democratic Party's base of support is actually far more invested, given that there's plenty of readily available public polling on the issue. There is a lot of appetite for anti-Zionist, anti-Israel sentiment within the Democratic Party, which is precisely the reason why, in spite of the millions of dollars in ad spend within the Democratic primary system, prominent critics of Israel are getting elected. It's actually created a massive crisis within Washington, D.C. They're constantly talking about how they have to do away with this democratic socialist movement in their ranks. I don't think it's entirely about Israel, of course, but that's just one reason for why. That's one reason for why there's so much anger and resentment coming from D.C. But at the end of the day, if Israel was this all-controlling entity, or if you know, there was any sort of like cult that was gaming the system behind closed doors, then this kind of stuff would not happen. It would not happen in any way, shape, or form. People would just end up mysteriously losing these sorts of elections and whatnot, and there wouldn't be any sort of like established movement that's harnessing the current anger and resentment people have with the way that Washington, D.C. Is operating in line with Israel's interests.
What do you think of the 2016 Democratic primary, the 2020 Democratic primary, where Bernie Sanders was clearly going to win the nomination, and in both instances he was railroaded by the Democratic Party establishment, right? And we know in 2016 because of the leaked emails, right, where the Democratic Party establishment was conspiring
against. I mean, they did it
Sanders.
openly too. They did it by way of media as well.
And in 2020, the same thing happened where Bernie Sanders had won Nevada, and he was clearly going to win the nomination because there was so much energy and organization behind him. And then Super Tuesday, they all rallied behind Biden. And like 2 months prior, the Democratic Party establishment was like, he can't possibly win, so we need either Pete Buttigieg or Kamala Harris.
Yeah, boomers
Right? I
are
mean, like-
high propensity voters. They vote in the primaries, and they had they are slammed to their TVs, and they were much more malleable, much more persuadable about the electability argument. That's actually a key difference in this election cycle right now. We don't know where this will go, and I'm sure the Democratic Party will do everything in its power to make sure that the establishment continues to maintain its grip on power. But this kind of deliberate sabotage that was implemented in the DNC system in 2016 and 2020 is going to be a much more difficult terrain for the Democrats to put forth, given that there is, one, a lot more diversity in people's media diets, a lot more interest in actually putting people into positions of power that will, combat the relationship, the pre-existing relationship that America has with Israel, and we're just better organized this time around as a consequence of all of those failures that we went through in the last 10 years, in the last decade. And I think that is the reason why it's very different this time around. Hopefully, there could still be failure at the end of the day, but we're just going to continue organizing around it.
I want to go back to 2020 and look at the sort of like conspiracy against Bernie Sanders, okay? Because like let's look at what happened, okay? So Bernie Sanders had already
like it's literally like just snake oil shit, where it's like, hey, like we have all this happening and we're doing all this stuff, and these are the things that like got fucked over, but I'm not even gonna engage with that. I'm just gonna say, okay, cool, well, we'll just keep doing what we're doing. Right? Like, Jiang is just trying to get Hasan to agree with him on anything at all. Really cool, dude.
won Nevada by a landslide, okay? And then what happened was a series of events. First of all, Barack Obama did a call in to a radio show in South Carolina. James Clyburn then endorsed Biden. Then the nominees started to drop out. Amy Klobuchar, Pete Buttigieg, they all dropped out together. And what's really important is Elizabeth Warren stayed in the race, thus splitting the left vote, right? And when people were like Elizabeth, like I thought Bernie and you were friends. Like, why are you staying in the race?
Well,
and
I mean,
then
we knew
Elizabeth
that wasn't the case, but
exactly, right? So I'm saying that there's massive coordination behind the scenes, right? You need someone like Barack Obama in order to make all this happen. So given that Barack Obama sabotaged Bernie Sanders in 2020, and given the fact that Barack Obama still remains the most popular Democrat in the United States right now, he's still the most powerful Democrat in the United States right now. What makes you think he won't do this again?
A couple reasons. One, it depends. There are very popular figures now on the left, and their popularity is only going to continue growing. That could potentially happen. Where Barack Obama could move in at the last second and turn around and try to game out the system again. I just don't think that the infrastructure there remains, because the appetite from the base of support is very different. Like the appetite from the base of the Democratic Party, the high propensity voters that comprise like the backbone of the primary system, they do not believe in the electability arguments that was presented by mainstream media any longer. That's the only reason. I don't think if Barack Obama intercepted these current primary races, for example, if he were to come in and say you have to vote for this person over this other person, I don't know if he would have the same level of influence capabilities, because there are other figures that are also very popular within the movement, and there are also other organizations that are growing in power that are not that are not inside of the Democratic Party. They're not accountable to the party bosses, and there is a lot more outside pressure, and people are a lot more aware of the things that took place or the decisions that they made. I talked to a lot of boomers. If you were to ask a lot of boomers, many of them say they voted for Hillary Clinton. They thought Bernie was bad. They thought he was a spoiler. They no longer believe that. They understand that they were wrong about that assessment. And I get a lot of confidence from those conversations that I have with people, and I get a lot of confidence from these elections that I'm seeing, where a lot of people over the age of 65 are voting for random, unknown, very young candidates, Democratic Socialists, and these are high propensity voters that are lifelong Democrats.
What do you think of Tucker Carlson and MTG? Because these are both extremely anti-war people who have basically abandoned the Republican Party because they're anti-war. Like how? I mean, how would you perceive these two people in particular?
I think Tucker Carlson is very connected to J.D. Vance and Peter Thiel, and therefore he's garnering a lot of legitimacy in the anti-war space. And there are plenty of people who actually.
Oh, Guilty Free Gaming. You're the one that got Ethan Hawke Predestination. Sorry. Thank you.
Really believe him
Fuck,
and think
sorry.
he's a sincere voice. And he does make a very convincing case in that front, especially against Israel. And regardless of what he is saying, I still think that his ultimate ambition is to either take that legitimacy and lend it to J.D. Vance, or maybe even take that legitimacy into going through with his own ambitions of higher office and maybe even run for president. That's what I think. But I don't think it's like a real. I mean, I think it's ultimately going to be him lending that credence to J.D. Vance. That's what I think. And I don't think J.D. Vance is actually a critic of Israel in any way, shape, or form. I think he's just performing a role for Peter Thiel.
Yeah. But the thing is, I think J.D. Vance could very easily be consumed by people that could put him in that state as well. But in a much more, like, anti-Semitic, destroy every Jewish person sort of way, you know?
And how about MTG?
I think Marjorie Taylor Greene is just, I mean, she's a little bit of a kook. She's a little bit of a crank. Here's the thing. I think both Tucker Carlson and Marjorie Taylor Greene do sincerely think that the violence that they saw in Gaza is unconscionable. I do think that. Having said that, however, I don't think Marjorie Taylor Greene has like any sort of real constituency because she no longer she abandoned her post, she abandoned the party, and she lost whatever power she could have potentially had as a reliable vote, for example. She probably didn't want to get primaried by way of Thomas Massey. There's a very high likelihood that would have happened to her, but still, she would have still been able to be a vote and a voice before she got primaried. So I don't think she should have retired. But I don't know where she goes from this point on. Maybe in independent media, somewhere like that. But ultimately, I don't think she's like a significant force in American politics any longer.
And do you think that after the midterms, there might be a prominent anti-war caucus emerging in Congress that tries to get the United States out of this silly war?
Yes, but I don't think it'll be Republicans. Well, it could be Republicans because lame duck, Trump's unpopularity skyrockets after the midterm defeats. He's not able to achieve the electoral gaming that he wants to set up, abolishing vote by mail, things like that. And therefore, the sequence of midterm defeats cause the party bosses to sour. This happened last time when Donald Trump was in power as well. And then eventually they will look for a new leader in the party to take over the role of Donald Trump. That's what I think is going to happen. And therefore, because he's losing his legitimacy, a lot of careerist politicians, even on the Republican side, will most likely try to coalesce around an anti-war force, recognizing that the attitude has shifted dramatically in that direction. And there's no cult-like figure that is all-powerful that can muster up the forces.
So you would know a lot better than I do, but I would guess that for the midterms, the Democrats are going to promote a lot of blue dog candidates.
Of course.
Are you concerned at all about that?
I mean, that's just what they do. They've done that every midterm. They will always promote the most conservative Democrats they possibly can.
In which case, it's possible, like after the midterms, there might be even more pressure from Congress to expand this war. Do you think that's a possibility?
There's always a possibility, yeah.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is, in the interest of making sure that we avoid that reality, I'm trying to get as many anti-war voices elected as possible right now. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. There's still going to be a lot larger of a force within the Democratic Party that will still most likely maintain a militant posture. But that only heightens the contradictions. Just like Israel overplaying its hand and constantly hitting the anti-Semitism button and demanding that governments like the UK start punishing people for being outspoken critics of Israel frustrates a lot of people. That tension keeps bubbling up, and it has to go somewhere. You have to release a pressure valve, and democracy is supposed to be that pressure valve. If the Western world no longer has any confidence in democracy and the democratic process, which I agree with you, I think it is an oligarchy. I don't think it's a real democratic process, regardless. But once it gets to that point, changes will be inevitable. That's it. And I think people, powerful interests of capital, will want to maintain a level of stability. They can make money in crisis. They can make money through volatility. But too much instability and too much volatility, all of a sudden, they're not making money. Then it becomes unpredictable. So in an effort to avoid that, they will have to concede. That's what I think.
Well, I mean, I'm rooting for you, and I really hope.
I mean, this is accelerationist hopefulness, though, right? That, like, the contradictions grow beyond the span of capital and eventually subsume capital, which is, like, I mean, it's pre-Fisher, you know, in like its like accelerationist potential. Because I mean, even Fisher kind of understood that capitalism will just go ahead and adopt, or you know, bring within itself anything that will continue to spawn the AI that is capital. You know, to keep it in existence. I mean, that's the nature of that system. It is a forever demon, I think, is like how Fisher put it. And I think I'm like kind of there too, which is why I don't really like accelerationist thought. Because at that point, it's like, oh, well, then why I'm generally I'm an electoralist, you know, I guess that's like a way to put it. Because yeah, like at that point, it's just like, yeah, you might as well just play the fucking game because you're kind of lost anyways. Like no matter what you do, you're lost. You're lost before you even got a chance to start playing. But, you know, at least, you know, once you can start playing, you play. Like it's something I've always disagreed with like anti-electoralists, but
that there could be a
yeah, first rollers doing this shit is bad. Yeah, and at the end of the day, to me, a lot of acceleration shit just kind of gets adopted by the worst genocidal eugenicists that fucking exist, and I'm just, it's gross.
revolution within the Democratic Party that brings in young, fresh voices such as Madani, such as yourself, because this is really the best hope for America right now. The Republican Party has become, as you point out, a cult, and so really the best hope right now is that the Democratic Party becomes the anti-war, pro-worker faction in America again.
All right. Well, Professor Jiang, thank you so much for coming on. I got to go. I have a photo shoot that I have to attend.
Okay. Well, thanks so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
All right. Have a good one. Bye. Wow. That was a journey and a half. How did you guys feel about that? I mean, that went off the rails with the wild conspiracies in between. And then we arrived at a decent landing pad, I think. Never do that to us again. I can't believe you didn't ask him about spirit cooking. Please have him as a regular guest. He is an interesting, he's a roller coaster. We did see the same thing. We did see the same thing happen. He'll have like decent analysis and then he'll package it up with like just wild stuff.
He doesn't even have decent analysis.
See the future for a bit, I think.
He's saying like super basic shit.
If you said half of what he said himself, you would have been cooked years ago, Lamau. I mean, yeah, I don't believe any of that. Why do you think he does that? I have no idea. I thought I could dive into it a little bit further, but anytime we tried to understand where he was coming from, it would go into like crazy places. Anyway, all right, everybody, love you all, and I will see you tomorrow.
Huh. Yeah, that didn't help Hassan's optics. No, I think it was fine. I think it was content. I mean, a lot of people tuned into that shit. A lot of people tuned into that shit. Right? A lot of people did. You know? So it's like, yeah. Anyways, why would capitalism not just fold everything into anything to survive? Because it becomes less able to eat, right? You know, like that's it. It's just like it consumes. So anyways. Wait, is there supposed to be a fourth Cloverfield movie coming out? No shot. Is that why I started getting fed Cloverfield stuff like 5 days ago? Oh my god, did I fucking hyperstition Cloverfield 4? Capitalism is cannibalistic? Yeah, remember how I told you guys about that? I just saw a video that's like 2 days ago. That was like talking about it. Oh man, dude. I've been manifesting some crazy shit lately. Like, I'm so cool that I'm like manifesting. Anyways. So So, what are we doing? What do we got left? Do I have anything else? Oh yeah, we're gonna do the Destiny Court Freakout tomorrow. We are gonna do that. I did become aware long after the fact that Darius was asking me to talk in stream again today. I didn't realize that until like it was far too late. And then I guess they snarked me. Ready to chat today or maybe tomorrow, he said. I did not see those messages. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. So I'm assuming I'm so excited, man. I'm so excited for the fucking July 29th, man. It's gonna be a Wednesday. That's gonna be a wing night, man. That's gonna be a wing night. You know? That's so cool. And then, like, yeah, we also have the Ethan Klein shit. With, like, the legal stuff around Ethan Klein as well. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But anyways. I don't know if you saw this. Clowned on a Nazi? I'm not watching any more stuff tonight. Okay, this was music night, and is the AFD a threat to Germany? Oh, it's on Al Jazeera. Yeah, I saw that. That might be a thing eventually. That might be a thing at some point, you know? Maybe. 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 Alright. I am good. I think we're good now. I think I'm like, I don't have anything else left. Right? I think that's it. Okay. I'm gonna send you in various directions to scatter. Yeah. I'm gonna send you in various directions to scatter. I'll see you later. Love you. Bye. We'll be back tomorrow. Court updates, other things. Night night. Alright, and then